all, and thanks a million for coming here today. And this is called, well, it's had a few names. At the moment, it's called the Master Your Data Workshop. And it's a hands-on data analytics workshop for AAM members and their SMEs in the Sligo and surrounding area. Hopefully you're going to find this next 3 hours fun and engaging. It's very much, I've very much designed this workshop around people who have no experience of working with data, people who have no experience of sustainability data, people who have no experience with AI. But I've also, tried to make the material such that people who are experienced in each of those things will also hopefully get a chance to learn something new as well. There are no stupid questions in this room whatsoever. So there's no gatekeeping here, anything like that. I want us to be very, very comfortable asking any kind of question. Please, that's how we're going to learn and work together. I want this to be very, very practical, and I want us kind of getting our hands dirty as soon as we can. So to that end, I'm just going to ask before we start if you all received the pre-workshop email from Elena. Did anybody not? I'm sorry, I'll talk about myself in a minute, but I do lecture a bit. You can probably tell when I start speaking. Sometimes I'll start speaking as if I'm speaking to students. So please don't take that the wrong way. It's just the lecturer in me coming out. So if everyone received that link, there is a shared folder in that link, which has all the data sets we're going to be working at today. There's also a Word document with all the links we'll be looking at. So I don't need to share the links in a chat or anything like that. The final thing I'm going to ask is in the email, I asked if we could sign up for an account in Tableau. I really wanted to do this today in software that didn't need us to sign up. But when I started playing around with our data sets, really Tableau is the best way to go for it. So in the email, I'd asked to create a free Tableau account. There's no credit card required. Some of you might have used Tableau before. The Wi-Fi is there on the table, and yeah, that's the only thing you actually have to do. And we're not installing anything. We're using the web version of Tableau today. I'll explain all that in a minute, but I just wanted to say that upfront that's where all the shared content is going to be. The slides are there now. Once you get to know me, you realize that I kind of will often do things last minute. So sometimes I might make some alterations to the slides and so on before I put them back up there. Right, but the slides are up there now, as are the data sets, as are the links to everything we're going to look at today. That's all good?
Right.
Excellent.
The pre-reading I have is just I can get the data set away, but I don't have an email just as the
it doesn't have Word or anything like that.
Oh, I didn't put if you go here, go to the data set. Oh, sorry.
That's just the Excel.
So this is my first.
Just Excel, yeah.
Perfect. Sorry. Yeah. So I don't make mistakes. I have learning moments. Right. So that's our first learning moment of the day. So I've shared out the
just test us out.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a test, Paul, and you passed that. Tone firmly in cheek for that. Right. So what I'll do now is I'll just go to send that to Elena, who's going to reply to the email. Sorry, Elena, we put you on the spot like this.
To Laura. Yeah.
I'll send it to Laura. Sorry.
Yeah, Laura was sending on.
Great. So I'm just going to send that to Laura now, and then Laura will send on the link of it. So I've just shared one data set instead of sharing the whole folder. And of course, I closed my email, so emails wouldn't be popping in during the training. So let's just hide those from my recording. Oh, so I'm going to send this to Laura. Perfect. Oh, so thank you for that, Paul. And then also that's very much going to be the idea today. It's going to be like scrappy in that way. We're going to be like testing data. We're going to be testing our assumptions and testing things like that. So a little brief. I just realized I'm kind of blocking the screen where I was standing as well. So I'm learning as I go here in this room. So what we've got here is and again, these the folder is going around with these slides and other data sets in it. So I don't see you really need to be taking notes today. But here's the overall plan for the day. And I'm going to go around the room briefly in a moment to kind of get what they're working on and understand that stuff as well. But really the focus here today is working with real world data sets. So we're going to look at two different data sets today. One with more like high level company data set and one that's very much operational. So trying to cover both bases. I'm going to learn about the backgrounds in the room in a moment, but I'll try to, use data sets that are real world, but cover also a practical enough for you to, that are actually like things we do. And we're also going to be, as you can see, this beautiful building. There's a lot of AI stuff going on here. So this session is going to be no different. So we're going to be I'm going to show you how I use AI to help me analyze data, right? So we're going to do it in such a way I'm not relying on you having to sign up for any AI or anything on your own machine, because that's often the limiting factor now is how much you get for free in each of these. I don't want you spending €20 a month just to come into this session. So I've kind of set it up in what I think is a way that's going to work around that. We're also going to talk about we're going to have some discussion. It's not just going to be visualizing data. We're going to be talking about what kind of data in your organization or in your business, whatever it is that you want to be, how you might go use what we're doing today to think about data you could be capturing differently. Yeah, and then finally, my background, I haven't introduced myself yet, but my background really is in data visualization. And I think a really useful way to analyze data is to actually create simple charts for ourselves to explore those charts. And that's why we're going to be using Tableau today. Tableau is a data visualization software. Before I introduce myself, we have two Mentimeter sessions here. One at the start of the project, one at the start of this workshop, one at the end. So I would ask you to take out your phone and scan this QR code and answer the questions we have here from the AM Center in Menti. And again, I wouldn't be thinking too deeply about this. I would just be going with the first word or thought that comes to mind. That's fair. Want to know change that very quick. Okay. Okay, perfect. So we're getting this coming here: complexity, volume, disparate data sets, cleaning, knowledge. That's great. We can see all these things coming in, and I'm seeing this theme of complexity, amount, and disparity in terms of disparate data sets. Okay, next question from the AM. Again, just think of it in one word. What is your biggest challenge in sustainability reporting? And again, I haven't asked for people's individual backgrounds or anything yet, so this could be very different for different ones. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of the same themes here, themed around time, regulation, knowing where to start, data quality issues, things like that. So that's it. Thank you for your patience around this. It's very helpful for the AM Center to kind of know this. So here's where now it's multiple choice. We can select one of these. And this is around how much data you or your organization are capturing at the moment. So this will be very different for different kinds of SMEs and so on. And of course, we don't have option 5 here, which is reporting that everything's going super. Okay, so a real mix of skills in the room. So I'm delighted to see that. Well, not skills, sorry, a real mix of what people are doing with data so far in the organizations they're in. And I will ask some specific questions around that a little bit later. But that's going to be great. I think with those different perspectives, we're going to get a lot. I think this is the last one. Ooh, a lot here now. So we can pick one of these topics, which is most relevant to your organization. So understanding simplified data analysis. I'm going to pick that one. Okay, and again, there's no right or wrong answers here. We're just trying to get a sense for what's needed. Okay, excellent. More of a kind of clear couple of front runners in this one, I would say, around the AI tools and data analytics and supporting decision making with data with a little bit of visualization from it. I think that's the last one I laid out. I think I'm just going to move on anyway.
Sure.
If that's okay, just in the interest of going through. So thank you for your patience with that. I will ask you to do another one at the end. But now that we briefly talked about your background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flash up the agenda, talk about the plan for the day, properly introduce myself, and then we might chat together about like what different people are doing with data and all. So here's our plan. We're in the middle of our welcome scene setting. This plan is all very flexible, as you're about to see. Things are going to bleed into each other, whatever makes sense. And if it suits for a coffee, we'll just take a coffee at that time. We've got really four modules in this module. Four modules in this training. First one's going to be around exploring data, actually just like looking at some typical sustainability data and playing around with it in Google Sheets. I think that's an often underrated thing, like that kind of skill to actually have a data set and manipulate it, whether it's an Excel or something else. That's the first bit. Second bit is going to be creating some simple data visualizations. So I've decided to use Tableau today to do that. There's lots of different software we can use to do this. I wanted to use something today that was no code, so we didn't have to run Python code or anything like that to explore our data. Probably take a break around this time. We'll figure out we might need 2 breaks. There's a lovely coffee machine which I've had this morning, so that's all worked well. And then module 3 is going to go more so into the discussion of what data people are capturing already. So we're going to start with a single data set for these two, maybe a more high level data set. And then for the data capture, I'm going to show you a more low level data set that I captured myself. And then maybe have a discussion around the data set that you or your organization are capturing and how you might capture more data or problems you're having with your specific data set. And then finally, I suppose, I need to put something near the end to keep people, keep dangling the carrot to have it there. And this is analyzing data with AI. So it got half of the votes on the previous slide. And these are some of the tools and techniques that I'm doing to help that I use to analyze data using AI without hallucinations, without exposing confidential data, and without kind of hitting my limits in terms of the models I use. Right, so that's kind of I suppose this is probably the start of the show, but I think it's important for us to kind of understand some of the basics of manipulation data, playing around with data, visualizing data, and talking about our own data before we just hook ourselves up straight to the AI. And then to wrap up, I might let you speak for a moment about how this kind of training feeds into the wider project of work. That makes sense, everybody? Great. So hopefully that will be a fun day. Like I said, the AI is going to be the carrot, but again, I'm trying to target this training at people who are in like at a variety of levels, people who are data literate and aren't, and I'll be hopefully able to tweak the material to suit both of those. Is there AC in here? I'm roasting. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I think it's a boardroom setting that has to be that has to be sweating, type of job interview with panel. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to briefly go around the room and ask for a brief description on what you're working on. Could be your business, it could be an interesting data set you have or anything like that. And I have your names here, so that's handy. So I'll start on this side with Maria.
Yeah. So I'm an accountant and I work in a multinational organization. I'm a business partner for BU that has revenue and costs in several different countries. So from a finance compliance perspective, everything is done at a country level and then it's rolled up into we consolidated and we look at it from a BU perspective. But then more and more like customers are looking for sustainability data about how the products are made and different processes. So because we have it's complex and these kind of anything that's to do with data typically falls to the finance team.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not we're not trained in
Exactly.
this area, so something that I need to upskill it.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Mary. Mary?
Yeah, I'm Mary Whitney. I'm the CEO of FutureCast. So we're an R&D training company based in Hamilton, working with the construction sector. So a lot of the companies we're working with, this is one of the issues that's up about ESG reporting, and I just want to learn a little bit more about it. It's definitely not my forte. So
Great. No problem at all. Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed it. I was taking notes so I can remember. So, Christina?
I work with Good For You. I'm a member of the finance team there, and I do the sales analysis. Usually, sustainability is something that I'm not familiar with, so I need to learn.
Great. Bob?
Yeah, I work for a company called Optum, the large healthcare multinational. I work in cybersecurity there, so again, like from a data point of view, we're dealing with an awful lot of data, and oftentimes it's difficult to kind of make sense of it. It's come from just with systems, things like that. But I'm also on the kind of green team in Optum, so again, we do like some sustainability reporting, things like that. So there's
Excellent.
overlap there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. Simon?
I've worked for a bunch of companies that sell into the construction sector, and a lot of them are just beginning to they have to deal with demands for ESG reporting. None of them want to do it, obviously, but so we need to try and learn, how to deal with that, in a practical way. So I'm learning, not for my own use, but to be able to talk more cogently to others.
Excellent. Megan, sorry.
My name's Meehan. I own a restaurant and a coffee shop. So one of the things we're looking into is obviously how we can be more sustainable, but I think within that is capturing the right data and actually getting people to do it. So I think it's about identifying what would be the right data to do, and then getting people how that would actually look and be practical.
Perfect. I've got just the right data set for you. My second data set, I think, is going to be, I think my second data set today, not to build it up too much, but I think you'll find it very handy. That's great. Laura?
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Laura. I work here in the Ing Centre as marketing manager. I suppose in marketing I have loads of data, and I honestly just don't analyze it enough. And so hoping to get something out of today to help me do that.
Good. Thank you. Sign up.
Hi everyone, I'm Zanab. I'm working in Aim Center as a manufacturing engineer. I do have a little bit of background of data analytics, but I'm working on a couple of projects as a part of my job that I think this is for sure will help me a lot, especially like analyzing data with AI. That part can do.
Excellent. And Geraldine?
hi, my name is Geraldine Gorman. I'm a lecturer, so
My tongue is similar,
I'm also an accountant. So I've worked in industry for 20 odd years, but there was no sustainability focus when I was in industry. So I write programs, we wrote a postgrad for Association of Chartered Accountants Ireland on their sustainability, and I teach on digital accounting program. So we're actually launching a new program at the moment with AI and sustainability. So I'm here to also learn from you and everyone around the room, because I'm here just to get a ground up approach rather than and just to make sure that our students are learning the right things and not just the fluff, what to start at the ground up.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Elena?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Elena. I'm a EU program manager at Aim Center and accountant. So, yeah, and I'm always interested in data analytics, and the most interest for me today is just to listen to you all and understand your challenges, because this is part of our project. And if you look at the handouts we have, so we have a program called Sustainable SME. And part of the program is that we deliver workshops like that. And next workshop will be about strategic decision making by outsource or make. So we'll look at this. We'll look at different testing of different outsource solutions. So there are lots of programs that you can have a look at this. And also we will have a mentoring program in September. So you're very welcome to scan QR code and express your interest. So thank you very much for attending the workshop today.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mandeep. I'm basically an AI solutions here at AIM Center. I work with Elena as well for European projects. I'm part of the sustainability project as well. And also I'm working on the AI studio that we are setting up coming soon as well.
Right. So what a wonderful mix of sales in the room, apart from accountants seem to be dominating this. So yeah, so I might have to ask you a few questions at the end for my business. So that yeah. So no, that's brilliant and great to see a real mix here. And like again, let's set expectations. This is a 3-hour session. It's going to be very hands-on, like it's very much doing this. We're not going to get the full, compliance regulatory of what's needed for reporting here. But I think you're really going to get a sense of how fun it can be to actually just work with data and do these things like that. To briefly introduce me, this is my business. So my business is called Data Design, and I bring data to life. So I work kind of in public sector most of the time, kind of visualizing data, right? So a lot of my work is data analytics, but also data visualization. And my theme is kind of like flying circles. I love wearing check shirts, as you can see. And I've done a kind of variety of different projects, often looking at public sector data in Ireland. So this is an example where I looked at census data around how people commute. So every dot you see there is 1,000 people. So kind of showing like how car reliant they are, and just like cars and stuff like that, how car reliant we are. So sometimes I create full platforms for public sector projects in Ireland. Sometimes I do more kind of bespoke, maybe artsy projects. This is for Dublin City Council, where they wanted to show some survey data, and I created it as postcards stacking on a bar table. So I live in Mason. They looked at me strangely when I went into the pub and started taking photographs from above at the bar table. So a lot of my stuff is about how we can take maybe dense, dry data and show it in more playful and fun ways. So to that end, that's kind of what I do, working on a variety of projects. I also run a data visualization meetup in Dublin as well, so trying to get more people. The way I say it to people, if you Google data visualization Ireland, I'm pretty high near the top. The problem is no one's Googling that. So I want to change that. My plan is to try and change that through the work I'm doing with the Irish government and through communities and stuff like that. But I think this is a really, really important skill, how we can present and think about data. Okay, so that's enough in terms of the intros. Just to check, Laura, that's gone out, that people have received that file from Laura?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to get on to the first module here, which is around understanding and exploring data. Right? So what I've got, well, I'll explain what I've got now in a second. There's a huge variety of data sources that people are going to be even using in this room, right? We've got Simon working with these large companies, these construction companies who are being dragged kicking and screaming into ESG reporting. We've got Megan, who's got the coffee shop and wants to work in a more sustainable way. We can see Christina trying to get more and more of this kind of sales data analyzed and trying to bring in, and then a lot of people who are in the kind of finance sector have found themselves somehow in charge of data, because it's become like a CFO plus data. It's like the new, it's like the new thing. So what I wanted to do here was find a data. Well, I want us to start by exploring a data set that's just typical of a high level. Again, we're not going to be able to have a data set that like suits all these needs. So I'm going to start with a very, very high level data set. Before I do that, I just want to check how people's data literacy. So who here can write code in something like Python to analyze data? Anybody?
Beginner level.
Beginner level Python. Yeah, you've got 3 or 4. Excellent. And who here has used any kind of tools to kind of look at data before? So like Power BI or Tableau. Which one's Power BI? Power BI. Yeah. And the only reason I haven't used Power BI in session today is that it doesn't work on Mac. Right. So I've used Tableau as an alternative there. So what we're talking about here is going to be synonymous. Tableau and Power BI together constitute about 50% of market share for business intelligence. It was purely a functional decision for this workshop, right? I also do Power BI training, so only joking. Okay, perfect. Always selling. This is the flight. This is the flight of the solo bits, right? Okay, so that's a nice idea. Again, I've had to try. I'm trying to like tailor what we're doing here to all skill levels, right? For those of you who are like used to analyzing data and things like that, you might find maybe the next 20 minutes maybe a little bit slow. But that's again, that's just the way it's going to be. I think there's lots of extra things that we can bolt on later on that will make it more challenging for you. So if you're finding the first 20 minutes and how we're going about this a little bit slow, by all means, but there will be extra activities and stuff like that for you later. Okay, perfect. So the data set we're going to be looking at here is we're going to be looking at emissions data, and we're going to be looking at basically standards of Scope 1, 2, 3 emissions reporting. So these three companies are three of the companies currently reporting this data the best, right? And I'll describe in a moment what I mean by Scope 1, 2, and 3. And so these are just different forms of carbon emissions. Before I do that, I'll just give you a little bit of background around what each of these companies. I mean, you'll definitely know two of them. I'll explain the other as well. So really what I've done is I've kind of gone, trawling through publicly available ESG reports from different companies and trying to find which ones are reporting at the highest level of granularity, right? So I'm looking at who's got the most breakdown of like where their emissions comes from. So a lot of the time people just give a single number, go like that, and then they're done with it, right? So the choice here was to find three companies of different size that are doing it, that are reporting it well with lots of breakdown of their sustainability data that are themselves quite different from each other, right? So we've got, in fact, before I talk about the companies, I actually will introduce the difference between Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. Are people aware of that in the room? If you're not, that's totally fine. Okay, so we're seeing a mixture, which is great. Okay, so when it comes to, and again, this is, I will put up my hands here, right? Staying on top of regulatory compliance for when the different levels of CSRD or these different reporting obligations coming in, that is not my strong point. Okay, so apologies for that. I won't be able to answer really specific questions about when exactly companies have to do that, but at the moment it's only really large companies that have to report that, but it's changing. And as time as clients know, not all people are happy with having to come in and report this. But in terms of Scope 1, 2, 3 emissions, it's basically like primary, secondary, and tertiary. Let's think of it that way, right? So Scope 1 is direct emissions from things that your organization owns or controls. So I'm going to use the AAM Center as an example. So the AAM Center might be, we run a air conditioning unit downstairs, right? So we have an AC unit running, and that's producing carbon emissions. I don't know, it could be a green building, whatever it is, right? So we're producing emissions from that asset, that we own. Okay, so that's the or this one is more about the actual. Sorry, that's actually a bad example. Now I think about it, because that what I described there is actually Scope 2. So yeah, I used a bad example, right? We buy fuel and use it in a tractor. That's Scope 1. Right? Sorry, Scope 2. So Scope 1 is the direct emission. So we buy fuel and we use fuel in a tractor, that creates emissions. Scope 2 is indirect emissions. That's where we purchase electricity from the grid. So my example of an AC unit was bad because the AC unit's actually purchasing from the grid. Right? So Scope 1 is activities we do directly. Okay, so that's like where we buy, like I said, we buy fuel to do that. Scope 2 is indirect energy, so it's emissions from the electricity or heat you purchase. So Scope 1, we generate the emissions directly through burning fuel or things like that. Scope 2 is where we haven't generated the emissions, but we bought electricity, right? And depending on how that electricity was generated, some of that was using carbon emissions, right? So data centers would be a killer for Scope 2. Right, data centers aren't necessarily they're not generating all this stuff, but they're bringing in huge amounts of electricity from the grid. Scope 3. So Scope 3 is a killer, right? So Scope 3 is the emissions from what you're ordering or what you're bringing in from the value chain. So the value chain meaning what you get in, the emissions associated with what you're getting from all your suppliers. So I'll use Megan's business in the coffee shop as an example, just because it makes such an easy one. The suppliers that she's dealing with for creating the reusable cups, for example, they would have a certain amount of emissions associated with creating that. And they need to somehow find out that and report out, right? And that is a huge challenge. And as you can probably tell, that's going to be much bigger than the other two, right? Because you might be, using electricity yourself. Again, coffee shop is such an easy example, so please don't think I'm picking on you.
No,
Right. So in the coffee shop itself, you might only use a very small amount of electricity where you're kind of making the coffee and so on. But in bringing in milk and bringing in coffee cups and bringing in brownies and so on, the emissions involved in creating those are significant. And the challenge here is that a lot of companies to this point were reporting only on scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. But the change that's coming in is that companies will have to attempt to start reporting on scope 3 as well. Now, how do we even divvy that up without double counting? For example, how can Meehan say, okay, well, this supplier used exactly this much carbon in making these coffee cups to be, but this much for this other coffee shop down the road? It becomes incredibly complicated across, more complicated if you're a big multinational where you're trying to measure this across, right? So this is kind of getting into things like understanding your full supply chain. And Elena was even showing me a demo in the downstairs where they're doing that with the pen project. I want to make sure I'm speaking precisely about it, but you're looking at a project where you're bringing in. I'll let you speak. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So it's different projects. Actually, a very exciting project that we are in the middle of, and we are close to completion of pilot 1. And pilot 1 is about a pen factory, and we're actually materializing the pen factory. Initially, we thought it will be just simulated pen factory, but then we decided to materialize it. So we have a pen factory with it's digitalized factory with AI at every stage of production. So at the preventive maintenance, quality control, supply chain, what Rudi was talking about. So we have 3 suppliers in Finland and Sweden who are, we are getting supply from them, and everything triggered from the customer order that we have. Everything is through the supply chain. We can see it through visibility, straight away in real time. And AI is determining the stock level that we need to have. So it's dynamic stock level depending on the supply behavior, depending on the customer behavior, previous orders. So lots of analytics involved. So it's AI application at every stage of the production and factory floor. So you're welcome to come in, and myself and Adit will be happy to show you. And opening will be 17th of June, is that right? Yeah, so we are very welcome to attend. So it's exciting project, and yeah, we are very proud of it. And actually we have a mentoring program or support program for SMEs starting September on the supply chain resiliency and digitalization. Please have a look at our website, email us, and we share with you the signing form. So it's similar to this mentoring program, but it's supply chain digitalization. Thank you.
Thank you. And so there's a pen factory downstairs where they're creating pens. The supplies come in from Sweden. From the AAM center perspective, they're looking at supply chain logistics, so you can run predictions on your supply chain. And what I'm asking is, well, go down and take a look at the pens maybe on your break. And what I'm asking here is think about, okay, well, these pens are in Sweden. There's also a certain amount of emissions associated with that, with creation of the pens and shipping the pens over and so on. So that's what we're thinking about scope 1, 2. Okay, so that's the behind scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And that's why I took a while to kind of try reporting to find out reporting these numbers and those break down. Right. So what's happening a lot is that, like, imagine Microsoft. There's no way Microsoft's going to know its scope 3 emissions bottom up. That means the suppliers they work with all over the world and things like that. Right. So often these numbers are estimated top down instead. Okay. So most of the time, a lot of these numbers are a single number. So what I've been trying to do is at least more of a breakdown across these different areas. And that's the data set we're going to be looking at today. It's not a particularly complex data set, unfortunately, because the companies just don't keep enough of a breakdown, right? So we're going to use this data set as a means to create some simple visuals, get how we understand trends from data. Later on, we're going to be asking questions data set using AI, but that's kind of that's kind of plan. Okay, so I'll be talking a lot. We're about to get our hands dirty playing around with data now. Any questions on that before I move on? So now now that I've still 2 or 3, I can start kind of comparing and contrasting the different companies here. So I'll start with Microsoft. So Microsoft's kind of emissions is going to be scope 2 from the data centers, right? So their data centers are consuming huge amounts of energy. Okay, so that would be Microsoft. Next one would be Unilever. So Unilever will be buying lots of ingredients. Is that the right word? I'm going to call it ingredients. So Unilever are going to be buying lots of ingredients from the different suppliers and using that to make their products. So those ingredients that they're buying from those suppliers, they're going to be the main part of Unilever's emissions. And then Arla are a dairy farm out of Sweden. They're a cooperative out of Sweden and Denmark. They're a much smaller business than Microsoft or Unilever, but they're basically like a cooperative of farms. And I wanted to bring a agriculture data set. I also bought in Arla because they have really amazing ESG reporting. So I bought them in not because you've heard of them, but because they're kind of the state of the art in terms of kind of emissions reporting and stuff like that, right? So that's why I bought them in. But even though they're much smaller than Microsoft or Unilever, because they're kind of, farm-based, cow-based, their emissions are still kind of comparable to those 2 other companies. And because they were a cooperative, so it's spread across, Arla don't own the farms, but farmers sign up to be part of Arla. So it ends up being a really large network of farms. Okay, so that's the data set that we're going to look at. I picked them so that some of them have different, have different characteristics, so we can explore it. Okay, so the data set is very, very simple. Again, for those of you who are like very familiar with working with data, you might find it too simple, but don't worry, there's harder stuff coming later. I've got it open in Google Sheets. So what I'd like you to do is actually make a copy. So when we open it, I'm not familiar with what will happen if people start editing the raw data. So to avoid that, we should see the company's emissions data looking like this. I just want you to go File and make a copy. So if you could do that and making sure everyone has access to this. Should do. I can see lots of lovely icons here, means that there's people in the room.
Any permission.
Oh, shoot. That's it.
That's because you're copied into this folder.
Into a different folder, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, copy into it. Sorry. So this is me learning on the fly again. So you want to copy it into a different folder, not this same folder.
So I could copy down into Excel, yeah?
Oh yeah, Excel is fine. Sorry. Again, I should be clear on this. I'm trying to do this in such a way that people don't have to have Excel installed on their computer, but I know most people do. If you've Excel on your computer, just use Excel. If you've Copilot, do you have Copilot in Excel? If you've Copilot in Excel, use that as well, right? Again, a lot of the time in this workshop, I'm going to have to do the simplest possible method to make sure that it works on every machine, and not all computers have Excel. Okay, everyone have it either on their laptop or on the Google Sheets online? Anybody not? Everyone good? Okay, great. So let me then, before we get into the first exercise, let me just briefly chat about it. So we can see we've got about 6 different columns here. We've got the first one around the company name. So that'll be Arla, Microsoft, or Arla, Microsoft, Unilever. We've got the different scopes, which is scope 1, 2, or 3. We've got a category, so that's the breakdown of where that scope is. So we've got within scope 1, 2, or 3, there's a different category breakdown. Within subcategory, some different categories have a subcategory associated with them, some don't. So what I wanted to do here was have a typical data set that has some missing values. So we can see that some of this data is missing. We have year going down, and again, for each company, the actual years that we have for the company are different. And again, this is typical. I'm not trying to withhold data, just that different companies report data at different cycles, right? And then finally, we have the value, and this value is in millions of tons of CO2 equivalent. Is it millions? Yeah. I need to look at it. It's MT. I think that's thousands of tons, but I need to check. But no, it wouldn't be thousands. I should really know that. Okay, I'll come back to that in a second. I'll just check it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just a really simple, before we get into visualizing the data, I just want you to start playing around and exploring with the data set yourself. I think this is something that now that we've gone to AI and automation, I think this is something that we're kind of getting rid of too quickly. And I think when I was working in industry, people would always say, oh, just hand this over to a junior analyst, you know? I think that's a real mistake. So I think spending a little bit of time playing around with things like filters, sorting the data, filtering the data, and exploring it manually is actually still needed. That like it gives you the sense of the data set before we start doing kind of making some more charts or putting it into AI or things like that. Okay, so this is a very short this is going to be a very short exercise on exploring the data. Again, there are certain things that will be easier to do when we're creating visuals. Some of you will have Excel open, some of you will have the Google Sheet open, some of you might have something else open. But really what we're looking at is just getting a sense of the data, what scope, what for each company, what scopes are, what part of emissions are dominating, can you see what's the trend, is things going up and down, and I'll start coming around. Okay, so I know I said 15 minutes here, but we'll be getting in, making some charts pretty soon. So I'd say about just a few minutes of playing around. I don't think we'll need 15. So I want us to get to the fun bit, which is making the visuals. Any questions on that?
MT's metric tons.
It's metric tons.
Metric tons.
Okay.
So metric system is like 10.
Yeah. Okay, so it's metric tons. Pivoting already. I spot the accountant that you can create a pivot table. There's always a job for anybody who can create a pivot table. Who here can create a pivot table?
Yeah, that's
After, yeah.
that's what I would do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd like you to do. Anyone's having any issues, just let me know. That's the view. Deep. Do you know how to merge so people can upload to a shared folder in Drive? So like I want people to be able to upload. Have access to the link to viewer. Yeah, you can do that. That's it. Sorry, thank you. Perfect. Sorry, moving around this screen. It's possible. Sorry for that. You have and you can you use Copilot in Excel or down on paper? Yeah. You can do that. This is great. Got some pivot masters in the room. I still never learned how to make a pivot table because I do it with Python code instead. Pivot table has never worked in my mind.
So does Python does that actually go in and manipulate the Excel for you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it takes in the. I'll show you an example of it. So I didn't want to just with 3 hours. I didn't want to be scaring people away with code, but I'll show you an example of how I would do it with some Python code instead.
It's very large volumes of data. It's like ordering it on super drugs.
Yeah, it's like
Is the way of it.
yeah, it's like a series of steps you apply on your data. So you don't have to have the data open or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I signed up for a Python course, like it was like an online thing I've done for a few months, but that's about 6 years ago, and I like what you said about the tips, I couldn't get my head around it, and I just kind of left it there. But I always regretted not going back and kind of persisting with it.
I'll do it. I'm good. Just keeping things flexible. I kind of withheld the Python stuff because I was like, oh, that could just like terrify people if I go with loads of Python. But I might do a really quick demo of it of how I would work with it, especially with AI, for running some of the Python code if people are amenable to that. Yeah, I'll bring that in a little bit later. Okay, so what I've also done is I have also sorry, what have I done? I've changed the settings for the shared folder. So you can now upload files to that folder. So we're trying to capture some, we're trying to capture some inputs from this exercise. So obviously at the moment, all we're doing now is pivoting the data and stuff like that, right? Or analyzing the data. But if you've created a pivot table, or if you have got some kind of insight, if you want to just even a screenshot of your screen, uploading it to I've created a folder called exercise 1, would be very handy for us. There's no pressure to do that right now. But it would be, people, what's great is that people are analyzing the data in a different way. And this way I can just bring it all in on the screen rather than me having to go around to individual people and talk about that. But this is just one, sorry, I'm pivoting on the fly here, pun intended. But the what we're doing here is we're uploading. If people have done any kind of initial exploration of the data, if people have created some kind of pivot table where they've looked at the data or anything like that, if you wouldn't mind putting up either a copy of the file or a screenshot up here in the exercise 1. Oh, sorry. So exercise 1, you might need to refresh the sustainability workshop folder. I just uploaded it there a moment ago. Again, I'm not 100% sure we have access, but you should have access. And we should have editor access. Link there. Okay. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Paul. And have you changed this analysis at all, Paul?
I just took a quick copy.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I'm generating
Yeah,
that copy.
That's totally fine. Right. Perfect. And again, there's no, sorry.
Where was the folder called? Is it exercise 1?
Exercise 1, yeah. So if anyone's done, and again, there's no pressure on this. Really, we're going to be using this later on when we start creating our own visuals, right? But just that I saw that some people have already started doing some different. Took over. There. I think a screenshot would be fine. Yeah, so the snipping tool.
Okay.
Whatever you use for a screenshot.
How do I say that up there? Because I don't use Google Sheets.
Oh yeah, that's totally fine. So we don't need to even use Google Sheets. We're just going to, where is the file? Where's the screenshot? What's this?
I just
Oh yeah, so that goes to the desktop. What's in place?
No.
Okay.
What is the? Because
I
I'm
usually
not sure
use,
I saw it.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I use Mac actually.
Okay. What's the?
Just not only, yeah,
So that's okay. Okay.
Do that. But the handy thing about flipping through is you can just save it then.
Yeah, okay.
Put this in your desktop. That's okay. I will leave the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then we go into this sustainability workshop.
Oh, I thought it was an easier way to do it.
No, it's just that. So just have to upload the file here in sustainability workshop.
I don't use.
Yeah. So I to be honest with you,
Okay.
yeah, it's the pictures. Sorry about the download. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience there. Okay, perfect. So we've got a few things in here already, which is great. And again, there was no pressure on this. I only pivoted because I saw people were doing some interesting things with the data already, right? So we have this film in Geraldine, which is looking at the overall scope 1, 2, and 3.
Very quick now.
No. There's no, like I said, there's no what we're just doing here is just showing this stuff very, very quickly, right? So there's no so this is looking at in a pie chart with scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions across all 3 companies summed up together to give us a sense of what we're talking about here. And this backs up what we were speaking about earlier. This is what's up. This backs up what we were speaking about earlier with scope 3 dominating. Right, so just she's able to create a very quick visual showing the pie chart and looking at the scope. Then Mairead, who's kind of Mairead just done this like mic drop. Mairead just done this mic drop and left. I would say you've done a mic drop. You just like put up the pivot table and said yeah. So within this pivot table, you're able to see it by company, then by scope, then by category across the different years. Right. So pivot table means that we can actually alter the shape of the data. Right. That's what we're doing. And what's interesting here is that different data visualization tools or software prefer data in different formats. Right. I might actually just take a second and go into that point in more detail, because it is actually really important when it comes to dealing with data like this. So you can often think of your data as tall and skinny, or kind of short and wide. Right. So the data in our current format that we've been looking at is tall and skinny. Years go all the way down the data set. This isn't a particularly big data set, but it's tall and skinny. Right. Often when we pivot our data, we make our data shorter and wider. Right. So we can see here in this data set, different years have gone out on different columns. Right. So this is often a lot easier for a lot of accounting software. It's easier often for data visualization software as well. I've used Tableau because it can deal with both. That's why I picked Tableau today. But actually, when it comes to AI models and things like that, you want it to be tall and skinny. AI models prefer data that's in that long format rather than the wide format. So a lot of the time when we're dealing with these models, we might need to unpivot data like this. So if we get a wide data set, like Mairead has created here, we might need to unpivot it for that. So it's really instructive point here that, well, not instructive, it's not really instructive, but it's an important point here that different types of things, like so certain software will like data in this kind of wide format, AI models will like it in a long format. And I picked Tableau because I put today's data set in a long format, and Tableau can deal with that well. Perfect. Okay, so what we've done so far is just we've kind of loaded in the data set, we've explored it, we've kind of looked at some of the things that are in it. Some of you have pivoted it, some of you have made some charts already, some of you might have even used Excel and Copilot and things like that. So really all I've done here, there was no direction. It was more just like, let's take a look at the data set and get used, not be afraid when we see something in Excel or Google Sheets. That's all great. What I might actually do is just take a quick 5-minute break, because I know some people kind of came in, right as we were starting and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to deviate from my schedule slightly, Elena, if that's okay. We're going to take 5 minutes. We'll take 5 minutes here, and then we'll come back in and start exploring our data with Tableau. Before I take 5, any questions? Okay, perfect. Great. See you all in about 5 or so minutes.
Where's the coffee machine? Probably.
Yes. Where's the coffee machine? Follow me.
You.
Do you want some coffee? I have coffee machine.
No, I'm tea, sorry.
Okay, tea.
Tea,
Yeah, yeah,
tea,
yeah, yeah. Tea's there as well. Yeah. I do you want me to go with you?
I'm on a break and you can take it on.
Excuse me. Maybe when we can see we have the where to go into it. Yeah, I just wasn't the noise. Yeah, I think for sure, bro. Exactly for me as well.
Basically, it doesn't even of livelihood.
Laptop charging.
I don't have the cable.
Okay. You need a cable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
The plug is there, that's good. I'll connect it to the other one if you have it.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have one here?
No.
Okay.
I have my Mac charger. Which is different. It's working well though with the camera.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
better than this one
So-
on the TV.
Yeah, so I set it up both. So this one is recording to Rudi's view as well.
Okay.
That one is just recording both the view as well as that as well.
Okay.
So that's the,
No, it's working well. I was listening on the speaker for the first while.
yeah. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I'm assuming it works well.
Yeah, because when we were going around the room, I could still hear.
Yeah,
So that was good.
That's good.
It's like you can tell they're further away, but
Yeah.
fine.
Hey, it was picking it up like by names and everything.
Okay,
so
that's good. Yeah.
Much better than the chat book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laura, are you there in the evenings?
Where?
Today, are you in the evening as well? You'll be there around 2 or 3 at the office?
Today?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
What's on?
Because actually, I need to. So one of the use cases is like onboarding process.
Oh yeah.
So I asked David, like, if I can interact with you and Mary,
Okay.
how you get people who are AI
Okay.
ownership. So I was thinking to automate that part of it as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So
Okay.
maybe I was just like,
Yeah.
how do you get to like from like engagement to them reaching out or you reaching out,
Okay.
and how do you store the data, things like that.
Okay.
If you can just give me a high level.
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I can do that.
I was
Yeah.
thinking to create an automation that would be really good for how we can do
Yeah.
like onboarding process. with
Yeah,
AI as
that
well.
would be good.
Yeah. So,
Because at the moment we're kind of doing it all manually.
yeah.
So
we
like yesterday we got a new member and like they signed up through a form, but now I have to reach out and write the email like
yeah.
welcome.
So yeah, I was thinking if we can do that
Okay.
automatically. that
Yeah,
would be good.
Okay, yeah, that
So
would be good.
I think David also mentioned we have a HubSpot account. as well.
Yeah,
So we can
that's what I
store
was
things
thinking,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's where we store all our contacts, our
cute.
CRM, basically. Sorry. Yeah, couldn't follow that first exercise.
Yes.
It's hard.
Understand.
Just outside of Ingleton. Yeah.
Okay.
Video barns.
Oh, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Just on the road there. So, yeah, this is a little bit out of my depth. Not, I think it'll all start heading that way.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
and before I ask somebody else to do it, who doesn't, I was like, I better understand what I'm asking
Yeah.
them to do.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Just crazy. Yeah, I was down at the AIM Center that's by the airport. You guys hosted something in the airport.
Yeah, the summer lab.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's it. The workshop.
It was a workshop, yeah. Or no, sorry, it was the PR meetup.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So, and then I seen this one, oh no, it's really interesting. I should have sent it on to some of the other, with a group up in Donegal called Food Coast Donegal. So, that's like a lot of small producers. Like that. So that's all I keep thinking about. Is, oh, this seems to be like a tough one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Especially if you have like a big business who maybe buys from you, now needs the emissions or whatever you have. You know, so it was like,
it's interesting. I never thought of it.
Yeah, because I was even thinking like, oh, how would we even get three? Like, because if you work with like a dairy farmer, like, can't really always ask them.
I know. It's probably not the top of their priority.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It would be interesting, but I suppose with technology, it's making everything a little bit more. Yeah. Even data. I would maybe even, maths is not even close to my strong
I
suit.
know,
So, but like at least with a bit of AI, you can figure things out now.
Yeah, and Rudi is very visual.
Which I loved, yeah. It is very cool. So, I was saying, one of my friends in the States works in data, that she works for not-for-profits, but so she does a lot of this stuff, I'm sure. I don't know. She's one of those ones that she talks about her dog, and I do not understand what you do, but it's a lot of data. I sent a picture of it.
Yeah, I know.
Now I might be able to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. But I've never been in this one. It's beautiful here.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been to her after.
What did it used to be?
So originally it was a fire station.
Okay.
And then it became offices for, I think, this South African chains.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then in Northwest Radio, it was in the office. Here's the oil center. Yeah. Okay, so
Is it your okay, just around now.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
Great.
Logical, yeah.
that's great. We put the working space downstairs and then have to place them. That's a great resource. Yeah.
Makes it more like.
I'd say it have off to you, Janet, and here and give you this one, just let's give it to somebody else. You have your own there, haven't you? Take it. Nice ball.
Okay, perfect. Okay, quick. So to recap, all we've done so far is explore the data, right? And different people have different tools and different literacy when it comes to exploring the data. What I actually do when I get a brand new data set is I do two things. I will open it in Python on one side, and I'll open it in Tableau on the other. So I'll just briefly talk about Tableau, and this is what I use to visualize data. But just to mention, a lot of my choice here isn't in terms of like what's good or what's bad or whatever. I just wanted something that would work on everyone's machine, right? So I'm going to briefly introduce Tableau. I'm not affiliated with them, I don't pay for it myself or anything like that. And it's just a particular tool. What I wanted to get used to is just seeing a data set and exploring it, right? I wanted to get used to these basics before that later on we start doing this with AI and it does everything for us. We actually know what it's doing, right? That's the important thing. We don't want to just hand this stuff over to an AI and say, do this for me. We want to know what steps it's going through. Has anyone here used Tableau before? Couple of people. Again, it's very similar to Power BI. So Tableau is a data visualization or BI, business intelligence piece of software, and it has a free version called Tableau Public, which is really excellent. In the email that we sent around, there was a link to sign up for Tableau Public. So unfortunately, you do have to sign up for this with your email. That's just, that's the rub. You can remove the email. You're not installing anything today. So Tableau can connect to your data like a spreadsheet. it's very interactive, which is why we're going to be using it in a way that like the Google Sheets or Excel isn't. And really, it's where analysts use it to create charts, dashboards, things like that. Right? That's what Tableau is used for. It's highly interactive. So I will open when I have a new data set, I will open it in Python on the left-hand side of my screen where I can, run statistics or like find out things like averages and so on. I'll have Tableau on the right-hand side because for me, it's still the fastest way to create charts. Even though I can do this Python coding, Tableau is still really, really quick to create charts. Just to be clear though, I want to be really upfront with whatever I'm giving us recommendations for working with data. I want to be really clear about like what's safe to do and what's not. Because you could be going home, I want you to go home and apply this to your own data sets. Right? So what's safe and what's not. So what we're doing today is we're using Tableau Public. This is the free version of Tableau. And we're using it on the web. I'm using it on the web because I didn't want to ask you to install some stuff before we came in here. Right? So Tableau Public on the web, there is no saving. All you can do is publish. So that when we publish on the web, that's out for everybody to see. That's fine for us today. That's all we're using. We're just using our emissions data set, which I've already put out there. Right? But if you want to analyze data yourself later, actually download Tableau Public, the piece of software, and then that doesn't publish to the web. Okay, so again, this is just the practicalities of me doing it in a workshop environment, right? I didn't want you installing anything, so we're using the web version. The public for the desktop version is much faster, much better, and you can save locally. Okay, so that's maybe homework for you if you're interested in this. You could install and download Tableau. Again, it's very similar to Power BI. This is pretty much the same. It's just that Power BI doesn't run on Mac, so we're doing Tableau instead. That's all. The other thing is that there's Tableau Public. There's also Tableau Desktop, which is the professional version of Tableau. Just to explain the difference, Tableau Public only lets us connect to very simple data sources. So Tableau Public only lets us connect to CSV data, Excel data, and some web data. Whereas Tableau Desktop, what they get you to pay money for, can connect to all sorts of different databases, things like that. Right, so that's the difference there. Power BI is cheaper, so Power BI is free and it connects to everything straight out of the box. Okay, so that's just a little note there. Any more questions on that, feel free to reach out to me or anything like that. Right, I can kind of talk through some of this stuff. Power BI where they charge you money is going to share reports with your organization, right? So that you're probably familiar with that if you've worked with it already. But Power BI by default lets you connect to over 300 different data sources, whereas Tableau Public just lets you connect to 3 different things. If you want to connect to something more complex, you need to use the pro version, which runs around about 80 or 90 euros a month. I don't remember exactly. Okay, so that's the idea behind Tableau. And another reason I've used it is it works with both the tall, skinny format and wide format, whereas other visualization tools would only work with maybe one of those formats. Okay, so let me show you. We're going to go into it now. So hopefully we signed up for it. Again, I'll come around if there's any issues on it. But hopefully you're in something that looks like this. What we want to get to is public.tableau.com, and we want to get to web authoring at the top. So I'll come around to check if everyone's got that. So if you want to go create web authoring. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. We're deciding Tableau Public. Tableau, also these companies have so many different variations of the same in the country. It's crazy. You got it? Create web authoring. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was switching. You got it, great. We're gonna go create web authoring. Okay, you've got it there. Oh yeah, hit the country if okay. And we're sorry. Also, I'm just going to come around.
So I don't know what.
Oh, yeah. So this is not your fault. This is Tableau's fault.
Okay.
We just have a range of different suites and products or whatever. So I'm just going to get to. I think you were signing up for a trial of the full version. So we're just going to go Tableau Public. Did you sign up beforehand?
I thought Tableau was in
The
there.
email instructions.
Yeah, but see, I'm able to use Tableau on my PC before I can.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. Sorry, bear with me, everyone. Yeah, yes, he doesn't put in Ireland here. Is that working for you now?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. There. Sorry, you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Sorry. Always going to be a little bit of friction getting something working on 10 different machines. That wasn't as bad as it could have been, so we'll take that. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to connect to the dataset from Tableau. So to do that, what we need to do is download the dataset. So let's return back to the folder. Let's go to our company use, our dataset 1 company emissions data, and download that to your computer. Again, maybe I could have sent this out in pre-material, so sorry about this little bit of extra friction. So we're selecting dataset 1 and we're downloading it to our computer. And then wherever you downloaded it to, I want you to upload it to Tableau. Okay, so I downloaded mine to download, so I go upload from computer and it's there in my downloads. Okay, I'll come around. Yeah, you got that. Perfect. Got there. You got there. You got there. Okay,
Just
oh yes, it's signed in. Yeah, perfect. I think you need to do it in your email. So you're already working there, so that's better. Yeah. Right, so.
This one here?
No, just sign in like normal. Oh, it's still, yes, it sends you an activation email, so you should go to your email first. You want to go create web offering. Right. Yeah, and then just put in Ireland. I don't know if that's all right. Yeah, check that and go. Great. Everyone's good this side. I'm just checking with Simon. Yeah, everyone's good that side. Let go. Okay, now pen. And now we just want to download the data set.
I didn't particularly.
Okay, yeah, let's go to the My Drive. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to the file and go file. Downloads.
I don't.
We downloaded it. Oh, sorry.
That
Excuse
is,
me.
apologies.
Yeah,
Can't see
perfect.
the
Sorry. So let's go back to Tableau. In the web. Sorry.
Yeah, when that's just in download.
That's fine. So that's perfect. That's all we need. So we'll go back to Tableau.
Just
It's yeah. So I'm going to go upload from the computer. Sorry, I keep forgetting the switch screen.
Don't worry.
I already done it. And then it's in wherever it is in downloads.
Yeah. Grand. We'll find it.
Yeah. Maybe it's not in downloads.
How do you think to
Right, you
It's
find
like
that?
honestly,
Okay.
that's
Then
try
you save
to
that.
description.
also here, just open the description part.
All right, thanks for your patience, everybody.
Just your screen. Yeah, we're just.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. Okay. Is that open, Simon?
Go that first.
Yeah.
I need to just put it somewhere.
Did you opt in? Yes.
Oh yeah, I'll put it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it somewhere I know where it
Perfect
is.
decision. Good idea.
The screen and goes there. Three times. Yeah,
Zoom.
use this.
Oh,
Yeah, so you see more.
Oh,
on the screen.
Okay.
I'm not sure where mine is gone. It's
Oh, it's in the web, so it should be just
Oh, it's here.
it's in edit here. Okay. This one.
Okay.
Yeah. So because we're using it in the web, it's in your browser, wherever we're doing it. Okay. So let me return to my Tableau. So you should see something like this, right? Nope, I'm in the wrong screen. It's because I'm showing the presentation. It's gone weird with PowerPoint. Okay, so now you should see something like this on your screen, right? So this is where we manage our data in Tableau. We're not going to touch this today. Okay, this is where we make sure our data is coming in properly. And yes, there is work we can do here. It's like analyzing it in Google Sheets, right? We're not going to touch that today because all we're going to get into is making visuals. Okay, this data is coming in properly. what we could have done, what we can do here is do things like pivot the data, like Murray did in Excel and so on. We're not going to touch that. We're going to make some simple visuals. Have you got that right, Simon?
Yeah, don't keep picking me out.
I'm not going to pick you out.
So
Not at all. Not at all. I just want to make sure we're all in the same, in the same level.
I just need to go find it because
Where you say
it's being a bit slow about not
Okay, fine.
yeah.
So you're actually organized person, not just throw everything into downloads or guiding.
No, far from it.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to sheet 1 at the bottom, right? So down the bottom left, this sheet 1 down the bottom, and we're going to go there. And you should see something that looks like this. It might take a second for the data to load. And again, this is the difference between the web version and the downloaded version. Downloaded version is lightning fast. Okay. You should see something that ends up looking like this. Okay, so let me describe to you how we create simple visuals in Tableau, right? And it is really, I think it's really handy. And again, it's what I always do whenever I get a new data set. Shows this. So what we've got on the left-hand side, Tableau calls fields. So fields just means columns, right? So these are all our column names here in the left-hand side. Just to check, everyone is in this. It's in this sheet 1 view, correct?
Yeah.
So we've clicked sheet 1 down the bottom. So we've got these fields here, and Tableau works with 1 visual per sheet, right? So everything here is going to be a single chart. If I want to make a new chart, I go down. The button beside sheet 1 is new sheet. So I just make lots of sheets together. To the right of that button is another button called dashboard, and a dashboard is just a combination of sheets. Right, so if I wanted to make a business dashboard, I would make sheet 1, then sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and then combine those together and to make a dashboard. I quite like that because it's like my mind can only work on one thing at a time. So I'm like, okay, here's my chart. I'm looking at this one chart and so on. Okay, so that's down the bottom. Everything in Tableau is made from dragging data from our tables into this area. We can drag it, and I'll describe the different areas we can drag it into now in a moment. But we have columns and rows. This means our y-axis and x-axis. We can drag it straight into the area here if we want. We can drag something into filters. We might want to say, let's filter by company, or let's only look at 2023. Or we can drag, what my favorite thing about Tableau is these things called marks, right? If I drag something into marks, it's like using the word by, by. So for example, if I drag scope into color, I'm saying to my chart, color by scope, right? If I bring year into size, I'm saying size by year. So we have, you'll see it in a moment, you'll have real control in a really easy way over your visuals with Tableau. And again, I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but I do find it quite handy to be able to create that new chart. Okay, so we're about to make some in a second to request it. Yeah.
This is not. It's not.
Oh yeah. But not actually. Yeah.
Even with that, it's still not.
Yeah, very strange. See? So we've got the Excel. I think it's always there. What it was is
the tables.
yeah. So I think what happened here is in the Excel that you had, there's this multiple tables.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
it can only do one.
It can only do one at a time. So I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
So let's go back and reopen Excel to check. Oh yeah, so because we made multiple tables, it was like saying, I don't know which table to look at. Tableau is saying that. So I think sheet 1 is the correct here. Yeah, so that's it there. Okay. So we can go back to Tableau. So basically what Tableau is saying, and why it's different for your computer versus the others. So what are you using as browser? Edge.
Yeah.
The reason it's different for the others is they didn't make other sheets, so it just took sheet 1 by automatic. We need to tell yours which sheet you work because there's multiple sheets. That makes sense? And now we're in.
Now it's working.
Now it's working, and we're going to be in sheet 1 now in a second. So apologies for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we can finally start creating some charts. I have one other concept to describe to you before we do that. The main thing when it comes, we're going to be working with very simple charts today. And really, I don't want going into fancy. If you want fancy charts, call me. We want to make sure that we're working with simple charts done correctly, where we can actually get insights from them. And when it comes to charting, the main thing to bring in mind The important distinction to make in your mind is something text or a number, right? That's really in your mind. Is a column numeric or is it non-numeric? Okay, so Tableau will call that. Tableau has its own specific language for that, so it calls that dimensions and measures. I don't love that language. That's what it is in the software. But really, when we say dimensions, we mean text. So text columns in this case would be category, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, company name, and so on. And measures or numbers are the value of in metric tons of CO2e, right? That's the number. The year is kind of in between. Year could be, we can treat year as either of those. So this is what Tableau does, which I find really clever. What we do with text and numbers is very different, right? For example, if I look around the names in the room, I can't say what's the average name. Makes no sense. Okay, when I have text, the only numerical operation I can do on text is count it, right? So one really simple reductive example could be to count the gender in the room, right? I could do gender against counter gender, and I could say there's 4 men and 4 women in the room, for example, just making up things, right? So when you've got text, like gender or name, the only thing I can do with name is count it and see if there's 2 people with the same name in the room, if there isn't. Okay, so that's all I can do with text. But if I have a number, I can sum it, I can average, I can max, I can min, I can median, and so on. Okay, so that's why Tableau does a split between dimensions and measures. It says what you do with text and what you do with numbers is totally different. So let's put them into two separate categories. Now, in my opinion, they make a huge design problem, or they make a huge design flaw in doing this, because in Tableau they make the measures green, and they make the dimensions blue, and they make the measures a kind of a bluey green, which is really subtle and really annoys me. So every time I teach this to my students, I just go crazy on that particular point. So if we return back to Tableau, you'll see that these are blue and these are like off bluey green, right? Which I find remarkably silly, because orange is also a part of they also use orange as part of their brand identity. So why they don't go blue and orange is beyond me.
It's not for good UDL principles.
Yeah, it's really not at all.
Really
Yeah, it's really poor. It's really poor. And the one advantage is once you actually select data, it becomes this kind of filled rectangle. So it is a little more obvious than it is here. Okay, so, but basically the distinction it makes, and that's why there's a line here. So these are our dimensions, these are our measures. Okay, so blue is dimension, and years is kind of weird one, because year kind of, Tableau gets a sense that year can kind of behave like both. That's why it puts it up there. We won't cover that. Okay, so that's the main concept. That's the main concept for that. And the final thing to say is that when Tableau or Power BI or most data visualization software sees a number, what it does is it sums it. Okay, so for us, that will make sense because we're looking at emissions. If it sees emissions across companies or across a sector, it'll sum those emissions. That makes perfect sense. But what if we're looking at age? If I said to you here, the collective age in this room is 735. It's useless information, right? Well, we could say that's how many, years of collective experience we all have on the planet. I don't think it's particularly useful. Like, I don't even think average age is useful, but you can see that sum of age is dead wrong, right? So that's one of the, again, we're not looking to do that today because we can do everything with sum, right? But when I speak to my students, the biggest mistake I see in working with data is summing where you should be averaging, where averaging we should be summing. And there's also some examples where it's surprisingly difficult to know what to do. So for example, if you think about the COVID cases ones, so number of total cases, right? That sounds like something you can sum, but actually it isn't, because when you see total cases, that's all the cases that are being so far, right? So if you have rows and rows and rows of that, if I had COVID on day 1 and you sum that, you're also adding Rudi on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and the number becomes much bigger. So I had a student give me a COVID dashboard that said had been 700 billion COVID cases, which means that every person on the planet has had COVID 100 times. And sometimes it felt like that, but I don't think that.
Read it.
No, they didn't. No, they don't. If you met my students. Okay, no.
I happen to.
I'm going into too much detail on this stuff here, but I'm just trying to give you a sense for like some of the common pitfalls when it comes to visualizing this data. Now I'm going to let you visualize the data. What we're really going to mainly use here today are columns, which is the x-axis, rows, which is the y-axis, color, which determines the color of what we're looking at, and filters, right? So what I'm going to ask people to do is we're going to ask people to stick to one company each, right? Just because it makes it easier for the analysis, because they're over different years. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 here. You three are Arla. You three here are Microsoft, and the 4 on this side are Unilever. Sorry, you can go. You can go that Arla as well. Okay, so it just makes it it'll just make it easier. Okay, so we're going to do our first one. We're going to find the biggest categories for a single company. So it's all drag and drop. And yeah, so I'll just show you here. So once you drag the data from the left, it will start looking like this. You're going to drag value to columns, value MT CO2E to columns. You're going to drag category to rows. And you should start getting a chart. And then you're going to drag company to filters. So now you do that yourself and get used to playing around with Tableau and how it works. And then I'll come around in a moment. So we're dragging from the left-hand side over to columns and rows. So we're take it and drag it.
Okay. How do you filter out the one that you're not working with?
Yeah,
Drag
so
it first.
you drag company to filters.
I figured it out.
Oh, to filter.
Yeah, so you can see here on the right-hand side, here's what you should get when you've done it. And it's no problem if you haven't. Okay, so that's fine. So
Can I undo that then?
No, yeah, you can always undo it. So you can just drag it back, or you can just Control Z to undo
That's
it.
filters then.
So yeah, well let's make the chart first and then filter it later. That's what I generally will do. So let's go in the chart. You can see we've got category on one of them. Category, not company. Sorry. Just undo. It's fine. Control Z. Let's take category. Yeah, over there, and let's take the what we're looking at. We're looking at the value of millitons CO. Sorry, metric tons CO2e. So let's drag that to columns. Okay. Okay, and now that's giving you across all the different categories. And then so this is across multiple companies. So what we're going to take company and drag it over to filters. Filters is there. Yeah. And it's going to ask you what do you want to filter by, and you're leaving the perfect. Okay. Great, you've all got it. Yeah, perfect. You've got that working? Oh yes, you've got company on the axis and you filter with Microsoft. So that's correct. That's Microsoft.
But did you here?
But the rest of the pretty category there. So you can you can click on the arrow and go remove. And post category on the rows. You got it. Yeah, looking good. Oh yeah, so we're going to drag company to filters.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, to filters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it's going to ask you what you want to filter by, and
Filters
you're
after
on
the draw as well. I didn't know that.
Are we just
Sorry,
ignoring
no.
here? Very good.
Yeah.
Now, did you request it?
Are we just ignoring year?
For this particular one, yeah. But you could also bring year as a filter and filter by just 1 year if you wanted to. Okay, I'm just going to quickly make that myself so I can chat through some Tableau stuff. Okay, so you're going to get a chance to create your own now in a moment. It's not all just, drip fed, but I just want to show you this now for a second. So I've got company here. I've got my value of CO2 this way. I put mine the wrong way around, but I'll fix that in a second. And I'll put company and filters, and I'm going to go with Arla as well. Okay, so a couple of things. So first of all, I've done mine the wrong way around. There's no wrong or right way, but I put mine horizontal instead of vertical. So some handy buttons are these 3 up here at Tableau. So this first one is transpose. So that puts your chart 90 degrees. This one is sort ascending. This one is sort descending. Right, so I never actually bother learning what's columns and what's rows. I just do it. I just throw it in randomly and then flip it if I don't like it. So I can flip it and sort it, where I can start seeing, okay, we've got purchase goods and services for Arla. Yours might look different if you have a different company. Purchase goods and services is dominating for Arla. Everyone cool with that?
Why have I got location based?
Because
Because Microsoft, so you're looking at Microsoft, and Microsoft's main emissions are actually from scope 2. So I picked a different company. And we split in the room. So a third of the room is looking at Arla, like me. A third is looking at Microsoft. So that's 3 of you. And the others are looking at Unilever. So the actual chart you see is going to look different, because each of us is looking at our own company. If I switch this, I'll show you. If I change this to Microsoft like yours, it's going to look like what yours look like with the location based up the top.
Gotcha.
Okay, so each one has its own different emissions. Okay, so now I'm going to explain this idea of marks, right? So this idea of marks is where we can add changes to our chart depending on what we bring in. So one thing I can do in this chart might be, let's bring in scope and put scope and color. So before we do that, let's think about what it's going to do, right? Tableau is going to see the scope column, and it says, okay, I want you to color by scope. So what it will do is we'll look for all the different values of scope and give scope each of those, so scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 its own color, and incorporate that into the chart automatically. Right? So what we're going to imagine is that that these are either going to get a color whether dependent on whether they're scope 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to drag color. Not color, sorry. I'm going to drag scope over into color.
Yeah.
And now you can see, again, yours is going to look different if you're a different company, but it's automatically broken it down into scope 1, 2, and 3. And again, different companies are going to have very different breakdowns. So we can see for Microsoft, we're seeing that location-based in scope 2 is dwarfing, but for all the other companies, I would imagine scope 3 is dwarfing. So there. Yeah, perfect. Looking good. Yeah, perfect. That's all making sense? Okay, perfect. Great. So that's kind of the idea, right? That we can like quickly manipulate things around. We can also add multiple things to rows and columns. It doesn't just have to be one. And Tableau will always pick what it thinks the best chart for that data is. You can always change that. We're not going to do it now, but I'll show you. We can change it with this show me button on the right, and that will show you different charts we can change to. But for now, we're not going to bother doing that because we can risk using the wrong chart. And this isn't a data viz class, unfortunately. Wish it was, but we're not going to we're going to stick with Tableau's defaults because it usually works pretty well. Last thing I'm going to do is give this a name. So always good to give your charts good titles. We do that by just changing the name down the bottom. And it also makes it easier if we're assembling this into a dashboard that we can see what each chart is. So I'm going to call it, I don't know, emissions by category. Mine's Microsoft. You don't have to copy what I'm doing, but when you give it a title down the bottom, it will automatically update the title at the top. Doesn't matter what you call it. I just don't want it to be called sheet 1.
Mind you give them a big one, their usage of dimensions, we should probably be calling this yellow tree.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the process of creating a visual. We're going to make one more together, and then I'm going to unleash you on the data set to play around a little bit. Okay, so we'll make one more together using year. So returning back to this one, we're now going to look for the trends for a single company. So we're going to look for the year-on-year trend. So we're going to go to a new, sorry, I forgot to say, you go to a new sheet down the bottom. So that's the button beside sheet 1 will open a new sheet. Well, sorry, it's not called sheet 1 anymore. It's called whatever you call your visual. And this time we're going to look at that. So whenever company you pick the first time, click it again, right? So put the same company on filters. And this time we're going to look at year by the sum of value of metric tons of CO2e. And you could also try dragging category to color if you like. Don't have to. But here's what it should look like. We've got year on columns. We've got, and you can see that whenever we put a number into Tableau, it will automatically turn to sum. We don't have to tell it to sum. So we put year on the columns, value on the rows, your company and filters, and you should get a line chart.
When I'm putting company on filters, I'm getting this.
Oh, interesting.
So it's
so
that would become a
I think let's try making the chart first and then maybe that could be why. Let's see. Filters. No, I don't know. Oh,
the company didn't behave in the same way, did it?
It is now, but maybe it was a number. I don't know what happened. Very strange.
Great.
Oh,
Thanks
that's
very much, Rudi.
No problem.
I think that 2019.
It's more of a chart setting, so it's not the data is fine. So we go into edit the axis, and it's doing an automatic thing, so you can go into custom and fix that to 2020 to 2024.
Here, look,
Yes.
see? So what it's doing is it's saying, well, within year, what do you want?
Yeah, very strange.
So it's trying to do a second.
Yeah, so we just want pure year. But it's very strange that it's asking that extra
It's
step.
going this extra.
Yeah, it's very strange. Let's try it with this and see if it's working. Okay, it is working, but that was strange what I was asking. That's because years can be a special
It's
a
doing
special
compound.
object. We're not even compound, but it's like it sees year as almost a special thing where like you might want to do we don't have monthly data,
Yeah.
but maybe it's thinking, oh, this year could be time and I might want to aggregate that time in different ways, for example.
Okay.
You see it in my next data set. So my next data set is going to be like half an hour, every row is going to be half an hour.
Yeah.
So in that case, you might want to change it, by hour, by minute, by second, and so on.
Right.
That could be what it's doing for a year. I haven't seen that happen before. Okay, so everyone have a line chart? Yeah. So what you're going to see is for different companies, different things are going to dominate. And we're not using these charts to create we're not really designing a dashboard here. The intention is more to kind of play around with and understand our data ourselves. Right. So one thing, if I go back to my one and create this for Arla, I'm going to go to my new chart. I'm going to look at my year in one axis. I'm going to look at my values and then choose COE in the other. I'm going to bring in my company filters to Arla so we can see the overall trend. And there was a good question back from Megan asking why is it going to 2022 when we don't have data for there? That's just the way the chart is doing it. We can always right click on the axis and edit the axis if we want to tighten in those bounds. At the moment it's going automatic. We could change it to custom and go 2023 to 2025. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just letting you know that's what's happening. It's more of a chart setting. So I can take category into color. And now what you can see is for Ireland that my purchase goods and services are dominating. Right? And that's because that Ireland is purchasing milk from farms, and that's what's creating all these emissions. Now, the problem with this particular chart is the chart is telling us a story. It's telling us that by far and away the most important thing for Ireland is this purchase goods and services. Right? So there's two things we might want to do here. One thing might be, let's look at the other ones and see how they're trending. This is impossible to see. Right? We can't see what's happening with the other ones. Or we might want to do a deeper dive into this one and see what's constituting this reduction. No, sorry, not this reduction. What subcategories within this are playing the biggest role? That makes sense. So often one chart will kind of give us ideas for another, right? So what we could do here, for example, is what if we just filter out purchase goods and services? That won't give us the full emissions anymore, but it will let us see the stuff that's down the bottom. Right, so this is more so for the RFM here on this side, because obviously people are looking at different things. But I can go to my category here. I can right click the can I? One second. How do I do this again? Sorry, 1 second. Oh yeah, sorry, it's not the right hand side. I click on the actual the thing I want to remove, I right click and I can go exclude. And that's the same as bringing category into filters. So I just right clicked on the blue one, I've done exclude. Awesome. I've only excluded that year. Sorry, hold on. I can click on the whole thing, can I? Yeah, I've had to select the whole thing. Sorry about this. So I've had to draw a box around the whole guy, right click on him and go exclude. And that's removed that top one from my chart, and now I can see everything else. That was only the case for.
Can I do a combo?
Yeah, you can do a combo. And what I would do if you were doing a combo would be I would take category into filters that way. So I'd bring category into filters, and then you decide which ones you'd want to filter out as a combo.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like you might say, okay, I want to get rid of these four, so I have to explore these guys and so on.
So could you just put these into
This
Oh, it's actually called other. Do you mean like have these in one color?
No, like in Excel, you just do a combo and these would be lines and these would be bars.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, I misunderstood what you're talking about. Yeah, so you meant like a dual axis plot where you've got the
with that one there.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Correct.
Same, yeah. Do that.
Everyone got that on this side? See some furrow brows, but maybe that's just people thinking they should.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
fine, sorry.
That's good. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a sense of how you can explore this type of data with Tableau. So I think it's very easy to create simple charts. It will always create a default one for you, default chart. You can start playing around and changing that as well. So what I'm going to do is I want to give you all a few minutes to start playing around with some charts of your own. So I want you to go into sheet 3 and start playing around. You can keep the company that you're with at the moment. You can move companies. You don't have to filter. I think it's better if you do filter for one company, because otherwise it becomes a bit muddled. And look at the data and say, okay, what else can I learn or explore from this data? So one thing we haven't looked at might be the subcategory, for example.
Would you make?
And any questions, just I'll come over.
The top.
Oh yeah, I'll show you that.
Delete the top.
I'll show you that.
Yeah. Cross it rather than delete it. Do you extract it?
Extract it,
Yeah.
It's where the axis isn't there. Oh, there's 1 point left, is it?
Yeah, there's a little bubble.
Yeah.
See, I had that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it didn't fully.
Oh, it's
Yeah, there's one.
To do it with 3 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go for new sheet and let's just vibe. We're gonna get into vibe coding later, so let's do some vibe visuals here. Yeah, we can see just how much of it doesn't have subcategory for that company. So I would recommend let's just switch to a different one, because you can see that it's not being used for it's not really being used for that one. Yeah, big arrows to the very subcategory. So now you can see it across those tools and also split by year. You're going to show me there. So I think this is the moment is doing it as a stacked bar. I wonder if trying a cluster bar chart might work better. Let's try that. Let's see. No. Okay.
Sometimes people don't.
Sometimes it does not. That's thinking good.
Well, I think it's not
Shall I
thinking actually
write
that's
it?
step 1, so if I switch to
Yeah, you can add the filter, yeah.
let's try step 1 and 2, I'll see what happens. Yeah.
And the problem is the show me button is hiding the legend. So if you click the show me again, you'll see the legend. Yeah. So now you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And sorry,
I think I've lost connection to the data.
oh, mad.
I think when I started playing around with the logos.
Yeah, oh no, there's no break. We don't break things here. It's not really. It's just in your downloads.
Yeah, it's in the demo. Sorry. Yeah.
And then you
Okay,
can't
yeah.
say it. Again, I'm not that familiar with the web version, so I'm glad we've had no crashes so far. That's very crashed.
Yeah.
We're good with that now. That's not how it's about. Very strange indeed.
It could be my company.
No.
It could be my work locked down. I don't know. But
No, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
the browser
No, it
should
should
be
be shouldn't be anything like
Yeah.
that. No. But very strange. Very strange altogether.
I was just creating a new chart.
Yeah, no, it's just completely. No, this is the Tableau thing. Nothing to do with you or anything on your computer or anything like that. What we can just do is build a file.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, so it's-
By you.
So we have only one option as well. So if you put this, show no, right? Show no is first. So
Well, originally it was
representing as
all
well. Yeah, so do it again.
It gives you a good idea of how things are. You can add more column visits, for example.
That's so interesting. You don't need to recreate the others.
No.
Here.
Okay, perfect. And what I'll ask people, sorry, I'll come back and have people in a second. What I'll ask us to do in the meantime, just because we had one crash there.
So you can add multiple colors to it.
Safe.
Yeah, I want to say it. So generally it's crashed unexpectedly there. So I was going to ask you to say here. So if you just go publish as at the top, publish as will put what you have there online in your own Tableau, profile. It might look different in your computer. It's not a Mac, but it's up the top. Publish as, and just give it a name. You don't need to put any settings there. That's the picture. Yes, that's it.
Why the picture was so small?
Yeah, so that's a Tableau. That's a real Tableau design issue. The problem is you can actually see it on don't tell me name. On Mary's chart here. You can see the bar chart isn't taking up the full screen. Even that bar chart is only taking up the first bit. And we can actually change it to this setting here, which is this one here, sorry, with the box, which is fit, and it's fit entire view of your pie chart. So we want to go to fit it. It's being squeezed at the top left at the moment. We want to show the entire view, and that will take up the full screen.
And can I
Percentages.
put two filter
Yeah.
labels as well?
Yeah.
Publish it to where they'll see it.
Obviously,
Is
have
it turned in
In the browser, you can.
Yeah, so let's bring here on the filters as well. So we can take exactly like that. We can take
Okay.
here on the filters.
That you get a page.
And explain how do you want the filter.
So
Let's
if
go
I
with all
published it,
values.
so I only.
At the moment, this is let us pick. This let us pick particularly.
That's the
I
limitation.
call
Right,
So
yeah, use it
if you want to publish it, you just screenshot.
for example.
You can download it. The Python.
Okay, and now we're
Requires
that.
It's the quality one you got.
And the last thing for the labels is again,
It does
we
look
have these marks here, and let us do this, but it looks like the word fly. So we want to say, we want to label, at the moment, this is being shown with CO2. So we want to label this,
You can just put it.
we want to label by
But you're right.
some of
Joy.
the estimated of CO2.
The same.
Right, so we got this legend is tell us what butter
So what I
is,
do is go.
and I'm going to show this label, some dry
Plot.
value, which is labeled
Yeah,
by
okay.
Put it there.
So now, what we actually want is
So I
percentage,
first
right?
read the
We don't
data,
want to see the actual
divide by
value,
that,
we
so
want to see the
understand which
percentage.
columns are
So you can see
using.
down here,
And
this
then
is my color mark,
and
so
you
we're coloring
color
by
one, two,
category.
And
Size, we actually don't need this.
next
so
3
we've
years or something like that.
label
For example,
by
which you
value.
read.
Just type.
All we can do
what
here
you
is we
want
can
to
change
do.
this.
Yeah, you
So,
don't.
so much of
Yeah,
that.
and
But I
we can change
code
the calculations
first.
and we
My
can say
habit is always to
percentage.
code first.
Right, so
break
now
the
we're
data.
showing
But
the
how do
labeling
you
value,
have
we're showing
cloud?
percentage.
It's
A
called-
little bit more involved in
Cloud has a
that,
code
but it's
connect.
all with these marks, how we control it.
And just
See,
one
Google
thing,
Code.
It's a
is there
code thing.
water?
right,
And you can just connect it
I kind of like to
with
see
the
that, to see
stuff.
what.
Yeah,
Right.
Right, so you code first.
There definitely is
Code
Power BI.
first, understand what is in the
In
data.
Tableau, I don't
and
think
what I'm
by
working with.
default, but
And
there
then
are
I'm going
plugins
to like
that make.
Claude to
So
explain.
short
by
answer
default.
is I don't think so. I know there's one
So
Power
if
BI.
I code, for example, I code to understand the data.
Yeah, I love the word
But
all
you
kinds of.
need your own code for
Yes.
your cloud.
Sometimes loads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
Okay,
very
no
much.
problem. I would also ask if it's all right if people want to put little screenshots of the dashboard up in, if you want to save, use your snipping tool, take a screenshot and again put it up in exercise 1 in the shared folder. I'd appreciate it. That's all.
If you don't, as in with snipping tool or?
Yeah, that's okay. Just take a snip of that. We just want to show some of the materials that people are working on. It'd be great. Okay, so I just asked if people can put a little screenshot of what they've done into the shared folder. But unfortunately, we need to move on to the what this is all fun.
I can't work out how to, is it say?
Oh yeah, so if you use a snipping tool, just want to save that as something. So save that in your desktop.
Yeah.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
and then we go back.
And then drag back into stuff.
Yeah, you can drag into Drive, or we can go into Drive. Sorry, we're going to go shared folder was.
Share one. Here.
Yeah, no, I don't
have it.
We go back to my Drive and go shared with me, maybe. Yeah. Perfect.
And we just drag into there.
Yeah, we'll just drag into the exercise one actually.
Yeah,
We're going to just go load is there upload. Don't see it actually, so we'll just make that go over to the left.
probably must be on.
It is, isn't it?
Used to be a lot simpler.
Oh, definitely, they've made it so bad. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but upload to.
You just have to drag it, I think. So yeah, wherever you have it, yeah, computer, just drag it like that. We've got some multiple pie charts. That's cool though.
But it's not very helpful.
No, no. I think probably the pie chart isn't the right way. We rarely want multiple pies. Yeah. I think some kind of trend might work better first, but you can see it's kind of gone a bit. We have to be careful. So this is the value. Oh yeah, this is the overall value by year, where we're coloring it by category. I think that's a little bit more. That's a little bit more useful. Right? Yeah, that's good. All right. So that was a little foray into Tableau. I still use it for creating these kind of simple charts and analyzing data this way. So again, hopefully you found that that useful. I do have a couple of other tips and notes on charts in general. And one thing I would say, so a couple of things that we've done there, which are also part of my tips for strong charts. So breaking things down by category. So the insights could often be hidden when we look at overalls. That's number one. Labeling your units. I have it here in my notes, but I forgot to figure out what the MT was actually short for earlier. So that's very important. Sometimes absolute and relative. So we saw that there with with Christina, who was looking at a bar chart that was showing the percentages rather than the raw numbers. So again, I think that's important too. And also, don't be afraid. Again, very much depends on what you're doing. If you're creating dashboards or what it is, but don't be afraid to There's been this movement to minimalism in creating these visuals. Forget about minimalism. Forget about minimalism. One of the best in the business is John Murdoch from the Financial Times, and you've probably seen his work. He did a COVID tracker that we all got really sick of watching every day all those years ago. And when he's talking about the data, like he breaks nearly every rule of data visualization. He has these huge, big, long titles that tell you they don't all the time. You create these charts and say, "Oh, I'll allow my audience to decide what they want to make from this." John Murdoch doesn't do that. He puts up straight over the top here, but you should be seeing, right? So like American style, early in the English across the income distribution, especially at the bottom end, the subtitle tells you what you're seeing, and he's not afraid to annotate on top of the chart as well. So breaking all these rules of visualizing data, right? So I really admire him and his work. And then he makes it even more complicated by saying, well, this is looking at percentages, but actually in the US, they make more money. So if we adjust it for salary, the gap between life expectancy is even more drastic, right? So again, he's not afraid to use annotations, things like that in creating these visuals. Okay. Do you want to take 5? Or we go to part 2? We finish at what, 12:30? So we've got some fun AI stuff to come. So you guys tell me, do you want to take another 5? We part 2.
I think we're okay.
We're part 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're okay to go ahead. I just need to go and renew my ticket in my car.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, totally fine. Totally fine.
Sorry.
So we can't publish it, is that right? So we can't move it from public Tableau, we can't move it to a CSV file or Excel
So
file.
Tableau, think of Tableau as more of an output. Like Tableau doesn't manipulate the source data. Tableau reads from existing CSV files and things like that, right? So if you wanted to, what you're describing is kind of further along in that process. Tableau is at the end where we visualize what we've done, right? But you might be reading from a database and then going from that database to a CSV file or Excel file that you then bring into Tableau. So Tableau can't change the data. All it does is visualize. Okay.
So what is the best approach? Just
Very-
screenshot on.
No. So the best approach, I would say. So do you mean how you would share the Tableau with other people? Apologies. So if you publish Tableau, that is, people can click on that and look at the visual. The challenge with that is that if you don't want to be doing that with your private data, right? So that's how these companies get you to, to spend money on using those, right? So what a lot of companies will do is pay for Tableau or pay for Power BI, so you can share those reports with different people, right? So that's one way of doing it. If you download the desktop version of Tableau, you can save it as a file, and you can send that file to people. Not the best way to do it. That's a free way. That's a free way to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so I want to get on to the AI stuff. I want to show you some of the stuff that I do with AI in terms of playing around with data, manipulating data, and things like that. And what I want to show you first, though, is one other data set, right? And this data set is kind of with Meehan in mind, or people who actually run businesses in mind. Because what we've been dealing with here is very high level, right? We're talking about two of the largest companies in the world and a huge dairy farm that's got huge emissions across everything. So how can this relate to like a small business in Sligo or around there, right? So what I'm trying to think about is like, how can we actually capture data that's more relevant and that's actually possible to go and capture now, right? So that's a lot of what I do for my business, is thinking about how can I, like, what data is actually out there, right? And the way I think of it, I haven't actually gotten the slides, but there's a lot of like this tired cliche that I hate in the space of data, which is people comparing data to oil, right? So people are like, data is like oil, it's everywhere, it needs to be refined. I disagree. First of all, we shouldn't be comparing anything favorably with oil, first of all. But secondly, like this idea of data as this thing that the smart data scientists can come in and extract insights from the data, I strongly disagree with that, right? I want to reframe it. I would say, instead of saying data is everywhere, I would say everything is data, right? So all the activities we're doing, whether it's workshops, marketing activities, running a business, all these things are generating data. And we just need to think about how we're actually using it. A lot of this data is being thrown away and not being used for decision making whatsoever, right? So that's a kind of a reframing that I would like to do with that. And there's ways that we can actually pull data from both our personal lives, from our businesses, that you mightn't have necessarily thought of, right? So one example, and what we might say, especially for a business, might be things like operations data, right? So we're in the AIM center, so there's a lot of, like, you can imagine for manufacturing, for example, huge amounts of operation level data. So machines running, even things like emails that are coming in and out of your organization. Like, start thinking about anything that's in a table as a kind of data set. So what we've been looking at so far is, like, we've been looking at annual totals from these companies. You're never going to actually get those. You're not going to get access to that level of data for your company, right? Let's start thinking about, like, what can we get bottom up. And one thing you might often have will be things like electricity usage, right? So that's why I said that I think that could be useful for your for things like a coffee shop, right? So think about, like, your energy usage, because we're not, like, a lot of the businesses you're in are quite small and might necessarily have to report on ESG straight away, but you could be saving money and going out to the markets, talking about the work you're doing in sustainability. The most sustainable energy is energy you don't use, right? So one example could be, what if we can pull your electricity bills or readings, right? So put my money where my mouth is. I did that for my own house. So the second data set, and unfortunately we're not going to get a chance to put it into Tableau today because we just don't have time. So I want to get onto the AI stuff. But the second data set I put in, I've obviously hidden my MPRN and serial number, so you can't come looking after me. Is I have 2 years of electricity readings from my house. So because I have a smart meter, I can just log into ESB and ask for that from my smart meter. right? So you can do this for your home. In fact, there's actually a few great websites. I'm planning to get solar panels in this year. So it's great websites. You can download this data, upload it, and they tell you how much you're going to save on different tariffs with different solar panel configurations and things like that. Really is amazing, right? But we can do it ourselves either, right? We can look at this data set, and we will be. I've created an AI tool that's going to look at this data set and give me trends around my home energy usage. I was hoping that you'd also get a chance to bring this into Tableau and play with it, but I just don't have time. So that's it. That's your homework. Tell me where I'm using my energy wrong. It's actually my wife. She always puts on the.
Of course.
Of course. I just had it so cold. Well, actually, this is in my gas bill, so that won't be taken into account because we have a gas heating. But yeah, so that's just a little idea of like we've been thinking really like broad picture here, but like there's ways that we can go about getting these kind of smaller data sets that could actually be much more actionable, right? So electricity usage is one of them. Again, it's going to really depend on each of your businesses, right? But this is kind of something that's probably unified because all of you are working in the building that has lights and heating and so on. Right. So the second data set is my own electricity readings. We're not going to have a time to look at them, but I built an AI that's going to look at them for us, so we can explore that instead. Okay. Okay, so now we're into the final module of the day, which is analyzing data using AI. So before we get on to this section, I just want to get a show of hands. Who here is using AI in their organization at the moment? Okay, most people. Okay, and then show of hands for Copilot or ChatGPT. Okay, almost everybody. Show of hands for Claude. Okay, 4 more. Anything else? Gemini. Okay, so we've got a variety of tools. Anybody here using Cursor? Yeah, one teacher's pet. Okay, there's a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of different courses describing this. I'm not going to be able to do a better job than anybody else, but I will talk about a little bit of the history of large language models. So when I was in the corporate world, I got really interested. This is in 2019. I was really interested with some of the work that was happening in language models out of UCSF. And I went to I'd only been just new in my job, and I said, if we could build our own version of this, I just needed a 5K computer. I said, we could build our own version. We could actually ask business questions on it. So I went to my manager at the time and I said, look, if you give me a 5K computer, we could actually put in these things and answer questions of us as our business. And he was like, oh, that's brilliant. You just write me a business case for that and we'll be able to do it. So I went to my colleague and was delighted. And I said, oh, we're going to get a computer. My manager just told me to write up a business case. And my colleague looked at me and said, oh, Rudi, that means no. That was my naivete. But I tried to do that. And that was before the same business has now pivoted into a 300,000 person Gen AI studio. So I was ahead of the curve, but not in a way that made me any money, unfortunately. What a large language model is, it's a neural net, it's a type of structure that mimics the human brain seemingly. I don't buy into that stuff too much, but really what it's trying to do is it's trying to predict what the next word will be. Yeah. Okay. So that's what it's trying to do all the time. Okay. But and that sounds like it's a really simple thing to do, right? Often it's really clear what I'm about to
Say.
Oh, this is intoxicating. But sometimes it's not as easy. Sometimes it could be talking about.
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the point there is that in the simple task of trying to predict what the next word is going to be, you actually have to understand loads of context, structure, and culture as well. The same way if I say I will yeah in Ireland means no, right? So like there's actually just in the simple task of having to predict the next word, you actually need a lot of information to do that, right? And that kind of so that's how our language model is kind of working. And the extra step for what makes these ones so good is a human step. So a lot of how these ChatGPT was originally trained was that it would give 4 options and a human would look and say, this is the best one. And it turns out putting the second step with the human in between really, really helps. It doesn't need it now, but at the start to have the training, having that kind of human verified tick mark that this is the best one really helped it. You can still see some remnants of like, so these are always trying to predict the next word. So what it really doesn't want to do is make a mistake. this leads to waffle, right? Because it doesn't want to get my word dead wrong. So it wants to be a word that's more of a chance of being right. So if I'm going to say the next thing is, rather than trying to confirm what I'm going to talk is, it might say really or very. These are words that are less likely to be wrong, right? But that's why it waffles so much, because like it doesn't want to penalize itself by saying the wrong thing. That's why they're so long-winded and waffly. This is a gross oversimplification, but it was a 5-minute simplification. They're trying to predict what the next word is going to be. To predict what the next word is going to be, you actually need to understand a lot of things. And they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I mean, it's kind of scary. And they're very good at summarizing, explaining, and generating structured output. So, and it's just this crazy. I'll be nice and call it a space race. I have another word for it, but it's this kind of escalation that's happening between these companies and stuff like that. And I have quite a fraught relationship with AI. I'll be very honest. Like I work with it all the time, and I'm terrified of it as well. And I think it's just joined at the hip with a lot of these tech bros who are pushing towards late stage capitalism. But anyway, catch me in the pub later for my full manifesto on this. What I'm talking about here, conscious I'm also being recorded. So just to chat a little bit more around this. So they've gotten so much better at kind of understanding wider context. The difference between each of these models is more about the company values that's working under it. So for example, the likes of Grok, which is joined at the hip with X and Elon Musk, is pretty dodgy. I mean, they're all dodgy, it's just different levels of dodgy. ChatGPT is not great either. The actual models themselves, generally I find Claude to be by far the best. When I compare the different models, I call ChatGPT is like the Hermione Granger. It sits up at the front of the class and it's really like, pushy and knows stuff that way. Whereas Claude is more like the maths whiz. But Claude is really amazing. For my business, I pay for Claude Max, so that's about €120 a month. And it works really, really well for my business. You will find that a lot of these are free tier that will max out very quickly. They then have a €20 a month tier, which is now maxing out faster and faster. The same way as when you download a new operating system on your phone, it drains the battery faster. This is all intentional for these companies. So that's a kind of little note on it now. Now, a lot of you are going to use it in the workspace and things like that. If you're coming in fresh and have your own business, I would recommend Claude. That's the one I like and use the most. But they are pretty much interchangeable. Claude just have one feature that I absolutely love, which I'll show you in a few minutes.
And sorry, just one thing. Somebody said to me that Claude's great on sort of the numeric, not so great on the alpha.
Yeah, so that is a good assumption to make. Yeah, I would say it's gotten better at the alpha. But it's strongest in the numeric. So for me, with my coding, it's amazing, right? For us working with data, amazing. When it comes to the alpha kind of text, it's pretty good. Maybe ChatGPT is a bit better. So that's a very good. That's a good way of putting it, Simon. I'm going to put that into my notes for stage 2. Alpha.
And for work, if you have a Microsoft package, you're kind of tied to
it. Exactly. So that's a lot of it as well.
It just depends on the package.
Yeah, and even Google's amazing because it can work across Google's product suite. Microsoft can work across that. Gemini can do that. So it's really more like, I'm not saying one or the other. I'm kind of talking about how we can do it through your business. So the next question is, how are we going to do it here in session today? Because if I asked you to use your own accounts, you're all going to be doing different things. Some of you might be on Copilot. Some of you might be on work computers that will block this stuff. Some of you don't not have it at all, and then you're hitting your free limit straight away, right? So what I want to do is I want to put it in our sustainability data set and ask questions of it. That's the kind of advantage to this. So I've come up with a bit of a workaround. So what I've done is I built. So just to again, I don't want to go too much into the detail, but with these apps, there's the chat interface that you can talk to now. So you pay €20 a month, you get a certain amount of tokens, right? So that's chat with the chatbot. Then there's also the developer. So I can, under the hood, I can ping a request to Claude and Claude sends me back an answer, right? And I pay like 1 cent per request or whatever it is, a fraction of a cent. Okay. So when you're chatting with it normally, you don't pay extra money for each chat. But if I build an app that under the hood is talking to Claude, I get charged money. So that's what I've done here. So what I've done here is I've created a tool which I'm calling the Sustainability Data Explorer. And what we've got is it's got access to the data set. It has access to the Claude API. And that means that you can open this, ask questions of it. Under the hood, it's going to Claude, but it means that you can open this and not be blocked by your computer, not be blocked by your tokens. And it's just running off I put in $5, but we're not going to hit $5. So I'll show you how to do that. It's in the shared folder. There's a file, there's a Word document called workshop links. And we want to click on the second one, which is the SUST Explorer. Oh, sorry, the password is, I've only done this so people don't steal my I've already given away my IP. I'm being recorded. I don't want people to hold my credit card to ransom. The password is Sligo Sustainability, with Sligo and Sustainability both capital. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this on the screen here bigger. So it's Sligo. The password for it is Sligo Sustainability, no space bar. Oh,
Such a long password.
yeah, it is. Sorry, it's a real test of people's spelling. I should have had that. I should have pasted it into the documents. I'll do that one.
This is when you can't see what you're writing. That's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. No, for sure. I wasn't that. I was just trying to get it working. So I put in the password here. I put it. The password's there in the document.
It's just the first letter. That's
This, yeah, exactly. Sorry, I wasn't clear enough around that either. Okay, so now we've got this tool that we can ask questions of our data. So first of all, in this little web artifact, which of course itself is made with AI, right? We can sort and filter the data like we could with Microsoft Word, but then we can also ask whatever questions we want to ask on the sustainability data, right? So I've got some sample questions up here that it's generated, where you can basically ask it whatever you want. So what I would say is, let's think back to just to get a sense of talking to an AI about a data set. Let's go back to maybe some of the charts we saw earlier and ask it around maybe insights around that. So just you just have to come up with a question for what you might want to explore the data and feel what do you want to know the answer to. Let's see how it goes. Okay?
yeah.
Check that working okay, everybody. That's working okay? Yeah. Great. Do that my hack solution. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I gave up this IP for free.
It was
Yeah, well,
pretty
so
good.
that was
Most of my
shares.
job recently. So all we do is generate commentary. Like a lot of what we do at work.
Yeah, exactly. So having that would be
Mm.
great.
I was at a talk yesterday and they were saying that if you use Copilot, in a Microsoft account,
Yeah.
which a lot of people would, you can create agents and stuff just like this.
Exactly.
But Microsoft actually do free training on it.
Okay, amazing.
So they do like a level 1 just to create an agent. So you can put up your operation manuals, or if you're constantly training in staff, for example, you could
100%.
just put up and it's all free if you time is the big thing, of course. But it's only like 1 hour or something, and there's a lady there yesterday, she created an agent. It's for students, obviously,
Yeah.
but you can do it in a work context, very similar to what you've paid.
100%.
Now this is a lot different.
No,
You know,
100%. If you're in that ecosystem.
If you're in that
it makes
ecosystem, which a
absolute
lot of
sense.
companies are,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but you can set up your Copilot agent by doing this 1 hour free course with Microsoft, and then you can upload whatever work manuals you want, and you can get your junior staff to say, "Don't ask me anymore."
Yeah.
And it's just pulling from your
Your own
manuals.
company
It's
records.
not pulling from outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
anywhere. So-
Like all of we have Copilot that's linked to all the data in our organization. So when you're saving something onto OneStream or onto any of the online platforms, you have to set whether you want it to be secret, confidential,
Mm.
because otherwise I could save my CV on something and And
Someone else could pull it. Yeah. Have to be careful.
We're
of
having a
that,
team
so-
chat. You're having a team chat. So it's like, oh, I'm out of this place. I'm
Yeah.
leaving tomorrow.
I just thought it was useful because
No,
we are tied to Microsoft.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
But what's Microsoft getting out of it? Do they have to, do you pay a license then every time that agent is used or something?
Well, the license is
What you're paying already.
the college is
Okay.
paying the license for Microsoft.
So the
anyways.
agent,
Or
every
the-
time,
for your work.
they don't get extra revenue every time they use the agent or anything.
No.
No, it's just limited.
It's promotion of the project as well.
It's
They
limited
want
in the same way as a €20 a month cloud is. Like you can't infinitely have those agents going out. Like
Yeah.
you have a certain limit of
Right.
using that
Yeah.
for each model. But an agent is just an AI model that has a specific task, right?
Yeah.
So just to be clear on that, so often it's easier if you give an AI lots of different instructions, it'll forget some of them,
Mm.
right? Or it's not as good at remembering all the things it has to do.
Mm.
And it works out it's much better the same way in the organization. Like it's good to have some generalists, but also it's better to have people in individual roles interacting with each other. So an agent is an AI model that has a single task. Pass me that one. They'll actually.
So, but in this particular case, is it answer a freehand question, but take the answer from the
From,
manual?
you
From the
just say
company-
from the data.
From the
or-
company
Yeah,
documentation.
whatever documentation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
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 It's quite
So
useful.
you can pull that information from your company.
Yeah.
My friend has an AI business and he's getting married next month. So he has a wedding planning. He's a wedding planning agent that's figuring out all the different
Yeah,
things
it's
that
really
has to,
good.
that has to happen.
As long as he shows up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of a way for us to control the use of students,
Yeah.
because we don't want anyone else to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, did all of you stick in some kind of prompt and got an answer? Okay, so
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's pretty cool that I can
it
do
is
that.
really cool.
I think that's why I wanted to show you how to do this stuff manually first before we just like went all in here, because there's a couple of things we need to bear in mind with these AI models when it comes to analyzing data like this, right? It's that like they're going to sound these AI models are going to sound equally as smart when they're describing to you the right answer, and equally as smart when they're telling you something that's just dead wrong, right? And the most annoying thing that you can get anyone who's been in a conversation with an AI model is where it's like, "Oh, you're right. I did make a mistake the previous time," and you're like, "Stop." Like, stop validating me. Just don't make the mistake. Do you know what I mean?
I get really angry with it.
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
get angry with it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few really good memes around it. Like there's one about is this mushroom safe to eat? And then it just shows the AI bot at the person's grave going like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yes.
sorry, I didn't
I have my slides. I have my slides. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
It's like-
even the regulators, like you can't turn around to a regulator and say, "Oh, ChatGPT told me that answer." No, that's not going to wash right now.
I made the mistake of going to my physio and saying, "Oh, I was actually checking your yeah, he's really needing me extra hard." Like, so that actually, I know we're joking about it, but like that actually leads to a really good point here, right? Where now there's a few things. First of all, when an AI sees a data set like this, let's think about a data set of tokens, right? Tokens is just characters, right? So and it can hold a certain amount of characters in memory, right? But when we get to very large data sets, it's not going to be able to hold all that in memory, right? And even if it can, it's going to be very expensive, right? Because we're going to use up all of our tokens. And that's what's happening. A lot of these big companies that have gone all in on AI, a lot of them are actually hitting that token limit. And they're starting to hire, in a weird circular moment, they fired some junior analysts to go AI. But now they spent all the money in AI, so they're actually hiring back some junior analysts. So cheaper than the AI.
To parse the data set?
To run the coding for software development.
Skinnier.
Yeah, skinnier, exactly.
All right.
But it's funny.
Uber wasn't it was the famous one.
Yeah,
What was that?
Uber.
Uber were doing
So
that.
they let a lot of their junior developers go and said, AI could do all the basic like scaffolding, setting up a software project, whatever.
Yeah.
I would discover that AI would like to be 2 to 3 times more expensive.
Yeah. Because AI, the same way that it's verbose when it replies to me, it's also incredibly verbose when it writes code. And whenever you ask it to make changes to code you've written, it then adds more lines. So it becomes nearly impossible to read from anybody else. And when an AI can read it, but it wastes so much more money because it's reading all that.
And you'd always need a human to spot the mistakes.
100%.
Always.
Yeah, we're still safe, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think we are.
Yeah.
But it's really concerning for junior staff. Like, how do they ever get experience?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
there's no kind of like.
the last drawbridge, yeah. They can't buy a house, they can't get through. Anyway, I'll save it for the manifesto part 2. I do have a couple, so but there is a way potentially around this, right? So some of the issues with hallucinations is that, so if you give the model a full data set, first of all, you need to do it in a secure way. So if you're doing it within Copilot, where it's in Excel, that's all fine. But I don't want to put my own company's data into Claude Web, right? Or Claude website. That's one problem is handing away. Actually, I've slided it. Do I?
You could do what you did, you just anonymized here.
Yeah, so you can anonymize it. So that's one step. So you can anonymize the personal one. So that's what I did here, right? So that's not, I'm not that concerned that I know how many kilowatts I used last Tuesday, right? So the risk of pasting real data directly, again, this is really going to depend if your organization already has Copilot or has Gemini, that's safe then. I'm talking about people who's going and pasting data into ChatGPT.
Which
right?
is happening.
Which is happening 100%. So anything pasted into an AI tool, maybe use a train feature balance. These companies aren't going to be like, oh no, some valuable data came in, we better get rid of it. Yeah, that's not happening. The other problem though is that hallucinations are harder to catch. So earlier on I said, if we give a model lots of things to do, it's going to forget some of them. The same applies with data. If we give it a lot of data, we might actually get that analysis wrong. So how do we get around that? What we do instead is this. Rather than saying, it's a kind of a subtle change, but we end up asking the AI for code, not analysis. So instead of saying, here's my data set, tell me the trends, what we'll do to their AI is say, here's my data set, here's the first 2 rows of my data set, which I might change so they're anonymous, so I can put into it. And then say, write a piece of code, a piece of Python code or whatever type of code that would analyze this data set. Right? So that's a subtle but important difference. So first of all, it means that the piece of code it gives you, we can just run it on our own computer. Right? So we're no longer sending it to the AI to do it. And all it only needs to see what the first few rows looks like. So it understands what each column is. And it can write a full piece of code in Python that will analyze it, far less likely to get mistakes because there's nothing to hallucinate. It's just, it sees these 2 rows and says, here's how I'll do it. And I'll show you an example of this in a second. But I said, here's a piece of code. Here's a few lines of my data set. Can you create something to analyze this for me? Right? So that's a subtle but important distinction. It's much better at writing. And if you do that, yes, you need a way to run that code in your computer. Often I just use it with Python, but that works way, way better. Hopefully everyone gets that distinction. If we ask it to, don't give it the data set, but give it that. So I'll show you an example of what I'm about to do now. So before I do that, let me chat about this. Okay, so one thing I love in Claude specifically is that it also has this feature called artifacts. And I'm introducing lots of things here, but hopefully this example is going to bring them all together into one. So Claude has something called artifacts. Has anyone heard of artifacts before?
They're things made by people.
They were formerly like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so the idea, which is actually really clever, is that normally when we talk to a chatbot, it replies to us in text, because that's what humans can read, right? But Claude itself is sitting on a website, right? And websites are basically built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? That's powering the web, right? So a Claude artifact is basically saying, well, okay, instead of replying to this person by text, I'm going to build them whatever it is they're looking for, and I'll just leave, and it's just going to be there in the web that they can play with, right? So if you're saying design me a new marketing campaign for blah blah blah, it will make you a full website there. And if you're asking people my copy for my ad, it will do that for you. And in this case, what I've asked it is this: I said I've data like this in CSV format. It's about 2 years of energy usage data for a single building at 30-minute intervals. Will you create me an artifact that will allow me to upload the data, analyze it, and explore the insights? Okay, so that prompt is up in the it's in the document in our file. So this is really, really powerful. And what I'm going to do, these Claude artifacts are available in the Pro version, which is $20 a month, 20 euros a month. But the free tier can view them, but I don't want you signing up for it for free. So I've actually put it on a separate website that we can look at. We'll look at this in a second. What I'd like to do though, while just to make it more interactive here, is I'll create some other random Claude artifact for someone in the room. So someone tell me what you'd like me to design. Anything. I just want to build one. I want one. It'll take about 5 minutes to build, so I just want to put something in the background. So you can ask me to build you whatever you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
No pressure. We can do something funny if you like.
Something
Please.
to see
Lot
what
of
weather.
answers isn't part of it.
Say it again.
Lot of answers.
Lock answers. Unfortunately, it has background information.
Did you analyze the weather based on like some forecasting websites or something?
Yeah. I'm saying Ireland.
Yeah.
Using enough of it.
Okay, focus on Slido.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be running in the background. So we'll leave that. We'll leave that to go there.
And that's just directly into Claude, is it?
That's directly into Cloud, and I'll show you now in a second. And it's as it works away there. So that's directly in Cloud. Now, what you can do with these artifacts, I'll show you. I'll show you the. Oh, no, actually, I'll show you this one first. What you can do with Claude Artifact, it's just a web. It's basically just a website. And it's with the link itself. You can publish that link to put it online. Then it's publicly available. You can share it to other people within Claude. They have to have they have to sign up for a free account to view it. So what I've done is I put this one on a separate link. This separate link is in our same document that we have. It will ask you, it will send you it will ask you to verify your identity when you click on it. But it's this link, this third link here in the document. So this is what it's created. So it's called, I'm just going to turn off the light because I think it's gone kind of night mode for this. So I'm going to, that's too dark, sorry, bear with me.
You just hit run this project.
Yes, you can hit run this project, sorry, it's going to ask for,
Yeah, it's not.
yeah, it's going to ask for that. Now you need to download the second data set that we took. So I know we haven't looked at this one yet. This is the energy usage data set. You need to download that. And then you upload it to the artifact. Lost it. You want to download it? So you want to download it as a CSV, yeah. Sorry, so with me, sorry, I've skipped a few steps here in this. So you want to, for the energy usage data set, you want to make sure you go into file and download a CSV instead of Excel, because the artifact is expecting a CSV file. So apologies for that. Just going to open the file. Yeah, you need to open it first. Sorry, apologies. You can see the different tabs.
So how would that work if other people use this? Say, for example, if I uploaded data there, would then you have all that data?
No, that's a point about it. That's not being hosted on the web or anything. What this environment here is totally secure. So all we've done is the web can only render what it sees,
Yeah.
but it's not exposing that data on the web for anyone else.
Okay.
Now the challenge would be, how would you send this to somebody else?
Yeah.
So what you probably need to do is like send them the data some way, and they upload the data on their side. You got this working? So let's see. Once you say CSV, yes, see that you download it as CSV. Yeah, just drag it.
This one.
Yeah, just drag it. Oh, it's not. Let's have a little look. So let's go to my. Yeah, let's go to it. We want to make sure we download it as a CSV. You may well. Sorry, probably the wrong.
No. CSV.
Not denying it. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Is this Power BI in the background?
No Power BI at all. It's pure code. Just looks like Power BI.
Yeah.
Apologies now. Oh yeah, sorry. We were taking the Excel one.
Mine is saying, oh, is it
Oh.
done as an
Oh, wow.
Excel?
Yeah.
It switched it to.
Yeah, I changed to an Excel. Yeah.
Can I just save as?
It does look very like Power BI.
You can open it and you have to open it in Excel, or you can file save as. Yeah.
You can say.
Have you got it up there? Elena, have you got it?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, apologies. So you'll notice in this tool that we've got multiple tabs. I don't know if you see it, but we've got, so it's not just the first tab. There's lots of different ones.
That's very cool.
And what's interesting about this is it's done this without having seen any of the data at all. So when it designed this, all it had seen was the first 4 rows, right? So it doesn't know. It feels weird. It feels like it should be.
And does that go and grab the file from the location you have it in?
No, you just dropped it. You
Oh, yeah,
dropped
we
it.
dropped
You
it
dropped
in
it
there,
in.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not doing anything like that.
No.
So you didn't actually create any of these charts. You
No.
just told you just.
I didn't even tell it. Literally, the only instructions I gave it was what was in the that prompt.
Was that it?
That was
Oh,
literally
God.
it. That was literally the whole thing. Was just that prompt.
Mhm.
All I said to it. This is it. There's no hidden anything. Literally, that was all I gave it. I told it nothing about the design, the charts, the breakdowns, the anything like that.
But you gave the fields and
I had to give it the fields. The first 5 rows was enough
was enough
for it to know.
think
Yeah.
of itself in.
Yeah, that was all. That's it. It's scary. I mean, it's amazing. It's
And you
amazing.
can
how
get that with the €20 a month.
You can do that with the €20 a month.
And would
Correct.
Copilot be able to do this?
And you could ask
You
it
can
to
have
create.
artifacts.
Yeah. So you just have say artifact. Like it sounds like it's this unique thing where it's just a website, right? So you could ask the Copilot, make me a HTML page that does all this, right?
Yeah.
So that's all. This is just the same way as we reply to us in text. It's replying to me as HTML.
Yeah.
But say you were asked to write a report or something and you wanted it to look slick, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be, a column of words and a column with slides in, or
Yeah.
sorry, not slides. I meant charts and so
Yeah.
on. Will Copilot then stay inside Excel to review charts?
Yeah,
which
really
you can
good.
then lift into.
Yeah, really good question. I've seen, again, I'm not in the Microsoft ecosystem myself, but I
Yeah.
can answer it by saying I've seen people run Copilot in Teams where it has access not only to the files, but if you're in Excel, you can only see the file you're in. If you run it in Teams, it has access to multiple files, and you could ask it to create a report spanning those files.
But yeah,
Again, my specific knowledge around what Copilot can't do there isn't my strength, but what I can tell you is, again, I sound like an evangelical for Claude, but what Claude does is it uses skills. So if I can ask Claude to make me a Word document, and it will upload use its like agent, its Word document agent, and do it in a Word document. If I ask it to be a website, that's what it's using. It's using we're asking how to create that full website from those 4 lines. It's using its website skill, which knows what websites like this look like and knows what people would want for energy data and so on. So
I think for Copilot, like in general, the way it works is, let's say if you're part of a company and they have Copilot within their Microsoft 365 licensing, they can constrain it just so that Copilot only acts within that M365, so OneDrive, SharePoint.
inside that garden as a part.
Yeah, so I think the challenge with Copilot at that then is like, if one thing we've seen is that, again, if you save like an Excel file that's got like payroll data in it, and it's not in a secure SharePoint site or OneDrive, like it's in an open shared drive,
Yeah.
Copilot would go in and like actually be able to
Help it
interrogate that. So you need to be careful that obviously if it's confidential data, it's in places that so you will look at data you've got access to, because it runs in
Anything
Yeah.
you can access.
And what's the difference then if you're using Copilot and uploading files, but then you can use Copilot integrated to that's in Excel? Isn't there better functionality with that? I think that's a more paid version. Have you come up? You don't have.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for my students at the moment. So they have Copilot, very little functionality, very limited functionality with it. So I'm looking for a more elaborate version that will be actually going to Excel, that Copilot is plugged into it. And I think it can pull the data more accurately and easier when it's actually in the application. You can get it in Power BI and stuff as well.
Yeah, and that's just
But-
down to the licensing.
The licensing, yeah.
We're looking at
Yeah.
it. You have to buy it.
Yeah, you have to
Personally,
buy it.
I just have the basic.
Yeah, I do
Microsoft
too, but I'm
Office
trying to get around, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get the plug.
I have the Copilot plugin in Excel, and I actually don't find it's any faster. Like
I
think
just
it-
was wondering what's the difference, because it's
Yeah.
more expensive.
But the
That's what I was-
processing takes ages. Like if you ask it to like, oh, put this into like a certain, maybe I'm just not used to it, and like I kind of tend to do the same things over and over in Excel. Do you know? So once you know how to do them, you can do them quickly. But I have seen though on some videos on LinkedIn, I've seen people using a formula called like equals Copilot.
Yeah, just that German guy, do you follow him on LinkedIn? He's really good for.
Yeah, but sure, I follow a few people on LinkedIn, but I don't think that equals Copilot is that Is that
He's on the claws.
I'm just there sweating.
Sorry, yeah.
I don't know if that's actually like mainstream or is it just like a kind of is it like a preview of what
Well, the thing I was trying to do with this, instead of writing all the code stuff for the dashboards, that if you just with the integration, you can just give the down for there and it does all the dashboards interactively for you very, very quickly. But I don't know.
But the one Copilot like is so Copilot is Microsoft's name for its kind of AI tools. So like there's Copilot in Office, there's Copilot in
Enterprise and it goes on, yeah.
Yeah, so there's different levels of licensing, so it just depends on what you need. That's really like if you're in an academic,
Locked down totally.
then it's
Yeah.
obviously driven by the licensing at the the organization level.
Yeah, but they still lock it down even,
Yeah.
even though the license lets us do stuff,
Yeah.
So
they
is
still
it-
lock it down.
Yeah.
But so it's Copilot like equivalent to Claude or Gemini or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gemini is
That's-
kind of for
that's
the
good.
Google,
It's
Gemini is for Google
Gemini.
Suites and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Copilot is for Microsoft and then
And Apple doesn't have one. Yeah.
Siri, well, Siri is
Apple has the Apple Intelligence or whatever.
Yeah, Siri
Yeah.
is breaking marriage for you.
Probably the same.
and Claude,
I
yeah.
thought it was Apple.
But
No.
Excel has
Sorry,
Claude
didn't
now,
mean to-
isn't it?
Say that?
Excel
Yeah.
has Claude
That's Claude,
edition.
yes, it's
Yes,
Claude.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's
plugins for them all,
Exactly.
yeah.
Um,
But it's all about the money too. like.
Exactly. I'm loving the discussion here.
Sorry.
No, I'm loving it. I apologies. I just don't have the Copilot knowledge to take this on. I will direct us to the artifact it has created for us while we were having that discussion.
great.
So this is 5 days over Sligo. We can switch it between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I mean, of course, because it's an American tool. It's pulled each of these the next 5 days from it. So it looks like we're going 20% chance of rain tomorrow. Then we've got the
No, it doesn't. It says, no, that means there's rain
20% of the time. Sorry. Yes. So
Very different.
yeah. So much worse.
100% chance.
Much
of
worse.
rain.
Yeah. 100% chance of rain.
Probably 100% of the time too, it's probably wrong.
Yeah. So we've got the percentage chance and the temperature here. We've got some overall insights from it, and we've got how it compares to Galway and Dublin, and then some overall focus. And it's using the Open Meteo API, which I haven't heard of before.
But
yeah.
This is based on the fact that you pay 120 euros a month.
No, 20.
But that's 20.
Yeah. Sorry, I pay. There's Claude Pro. That's where you get all the features. But you'll find that if you're coding as much as I am, you'll find €20 bills. So I pay for Claude Max, which just gives me more
Yeah.
AI.
But then, so like, if let's say I was at work and I prepared this report and sent it to a senior manager and they asked me for, can you break down that temperature there on Galway?
Yeah.
Where can you actually drill into the detail?
So really good question there. So at the moment, the artifacts I've been creating for you, I've just made them one and done. Right. So, but if you wanted to with these artifacts, I could just continue. I could just continue the conversation. I'd also like a breakdown of Galway. And it's going to extend the functionality to do that, right? Now, the one thing to come on to what you were saying then, right, that was like how you would send these to management in general, right? So we need to be a little bit. This is where we need to be a little bit careful around it, thinking about what suite you're in. Like if you're in the Copilot space already, and how we deal with these. These things look great, and they look like they're really useful because they are. But we just need to be careful when we're doing it that we're not exposing data. We're not like. That's the problem with power these tools, right? That we could instantly like.
Oh yeah. No, like we have so much security. Like we're not allowed to access anything except Copilot. But it's just I'm wondering if Copilot has the same functionality or
To create these websites, to create these web. That's your homework now for.
Yeah.
I say it does.
Press and sign, sorry.
But the one I come up against constantly is that if you're asked for a report and it's fairly serious report, people are gonna they're gonna pay a lot of money for it and so on, and you then get queries back. So if you haven't built it in Excel and Word and then expressed it in PowerPoint, say, you're going to get in a complete knot because it takes too long to go back and try and remember what you were doing. So you obviously know that PowerPoint can read Excel, so you got a dynamic
relationship there.
And Word and so on. But something that would, if we could get something where you can just dump, rough write your the story, what are we trying to examine here? So the use of sustainability amongst off-site construction companies in Ireland. So look at the ChatGPT to tell you all about that.
Yeah.
All it's doing is reading
You're going
websites.
to say them up there.
It's two things. The next thing we say, okay, so now we're going to do a survey of them.
Here's the data.
Yeah, it's going to be messy and all the words you said there, choppy and all that stuff. But then to be, this is going to be a tiny part, say, of my work for 3-6 months.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten what I was saying 6 months ago. So I'm trying to see if I could build something where I can just keep this thing going.
Yeah.
You can
And
build
it'll do a PowerPoint at the end.
Yeah.
That'll be,
Yeah.
I like Logic as.
Yeah. So what you're describing there is like a chat. It's like a chat context, right? So that's where
I
if you
have
remember.
context in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And they're
Exactly.
great.
Just like
Is that capital C context?
It's just, sorry?
Is that capital C context?
No, I just mean context is in
Just-
remembering.
Oh,
things.
yeah,
Remember
okay.
things,
Yeah.
we create just projects
So-
in ChatGPT.
Right.
And so all your stuff that you're talking about 6 months ago, whatever, you just have it all in the one project.
In the project, okay.
Yeah,
See
that's-
those that's
yeah.
so there's chats inside the
Yeah,
project.
you can
Or
bring
you
up
can
the-
search your
and
last
it can save your source documents as well. You can, if you put them up just regularly, it'll forget them.
But to Rudy's point,
Yeah.
if I put them up, they're
What about
they're
chicken?
outside.
Do not use to train your data.
Yeah, they say that.
But is that useless, Rudi?
Look, this is my view of it. Is that I just don't like. I want my business to continue running, so I don't
Yeah.
want to pull up my client's data.
Yeah.
It's not my own stuff.
No,
My own
no,
stuff.
fair,
Kind of like,
fair.
this is probably fine. Now they say all these things, but they're not using this
They're
data.
not
to train
using it,
them on.
but yeah.
When I'm dealing with clients' data, my reputation for me personally is more important than like the quick sugar rush I get from potentially using these AI tools.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is going to depend on what your org is already doing. So if you're in Copilot, doing this in Copilot. But to answer your question, Simon, that is like you just be, if you have a continuous chat window with context or have a project set up, you can give it multiple documents, and from those multiple documents create that kind of final report.
But I'm well worried now because a couple of other people have been doing like shared chat GPT and we're all only loosely affiliated. And it seems to me that the people who say that they won't use the data are the same people who say that some pigs are more equal than other pigs.
Very true. Very true.
But if I switch all that to Copilot, am I inside then?
Switching it in Copilot means that you're doing it within the organization and it's not
That's
being.
what your organization has. What does your
Does your organization have Copilot?
What did they have? Are you Microsoft driven?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it would be
but,
Then it would
the
be
Copilot.
Copilot.
So
yeah, it's all sort of financial stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not Apple anyway. But
Yeah.
that's what you're asking. So it's going to be Microsoft.
But yeah, do you is your company paying for like a Microsoft subscription? Like,
Are you on Outlook? Are you on, are you using the platform?
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could well be, again, this is not my thing. What specifically is in Copilot or not isn't my area of expertise.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Conscious we're getting towards the end here, so I just want to show you briefly our 5 days over Sligo and Galway is now interactive, and we can change it between Sligo and Galway. We've got the same kind of temperature. It looks a little nicer. For Galway than here. So
Does it give you a link to access that?
yeah,
as a
so
result,
it does.
that's right.
The only problem with, if I go back to my notes, the problem with the cloud artifacts is that you can get them on, you can create them with the €20 a month, but then to view them you need to sign up for a cloud free account. That's the only reason why I'm not sharing these out with you now. That's why I had to put that one on this other random link on the web and do that. So I can also circulate it. I'll also circulate the Sligo one on its own URL after this.
But on that, like if you were to look, so we've set that up on today's date. If you clicked on the link for that, whether app would say in 2 weeks' time, will it be updated?
Yeah.
Good
Good question. So I have to I feel it's going to just it's going to pull it once, but I'll just ask it that. I'll just say I'll just going to say are you generating this?
Ongoing. Yeah.
Could update this. I'd say if it's pulling from the source, if the source updates, maybe it will.
Yeah.
Not.
So I'm just ask it, are you generating this ongoing with an API? Okay, now it's telling me there. So it's gonna be straight with me. It's actually hard coding those. It does it once and hard coding those values in. To make it fetch, it would have to do it differently, and now it's describing that it would have to. There'd be problems with doing this across a browser, and it would need to do it slightly differently. So it's telling me that it would have to make it more complex, pull it automatically.
Quick question, is that what people are calling it? Agentic or agentic AI?
No, so agentic AI is an agent. So an agent is a particular AI that is in control of one thing. So we were talking about it earlier. So the example that Geraldine was giving of like the students being able to read an AI. Here's an AI. All you know is the company manual, and you know that manual. You answer me questions about that manual. So that's an agent. And so agentic would be you have this multi-agent system. So like the way we've the skills in this room together that are working together for this, there might be, you know, a trainer and a facilitator.
And not to bend the thing too much in my direction, but that agentic AI, could the general public use it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use any particular any of these AI apps we're talking about can be used by the public. It's nothing special. It's just agentic just means that it works better if you have one AI model for one task and lots of AI models.
So we read this manual how to work this.
Yeah, here's your AI model, you pass the order, that's your job. And it works out better if you just get lots of those AI models and have them working together. It works out better than just telling one AI model to do 10 different things. So it's nothing, and like an agent itself is just going to look like a single chatbot.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be any different from this.
Yeah, the benefit of the agent is context.
It's context,
Yeah.
exactly. You give each,
So it's not just a generic.
exactly.
So it's like if you interact with a ESP chatbot or the ESP website.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just looking at maybe not ESP knowledge base information or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's trained specifically to deal with that. It's
So
not
they
go search
decide
it
that-
out.
program.
Yes.
For
Our
answers
spec
and
that
stuff,
you give
that's
us
the-
in
Oh yeah.
So we've got electric gates.
No, but that's not my
Yes, of
data.
course. Yes, like
Ask me how many hours are in September. That's my favorite.
What is it?
How many hours in September?
Yeah.
Or February? And to finish with this go, let's say this stuff isn't always right? Let's see if it's fixed it now. Yeah, so I've asked them how many hours are in February. Right, so anyone who tells you that AI is going to take over, just ask it how many hours in February or strawberry. Can't do it.
Yeah.
The other example was the car wash one. There isn't that one. That's
No,
like, yeah, it's like what's the fastest way to get to the car wash, whatever. It said, well, the fastest way to get there is to walk.
They don't know. You know, because unless they're learning, they don't know from.
So because it's always trying to predict the next word, it doesn't really have an understanding of like having to go back on the existing word.
Yeah, the obvious thing with Siri, by the way, the brains of Siri is in Cork.
Oh really?
It's actually
Yeah,
it's secret, but now you know. So no, I'm serious. Siri moderation is in Cork, and it's a big black building. But the thing that's so incredibly stupid about it is that Word can autocorrect.
Yeah.
But Siri cannot remember that my brother's name is Lyons and that my son's name is Leo.
Yeah.
And so it rings my grandson, who's called Leo.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's incredible. It really is. So the question is this: can you say set up an agent or something, and then tell it, I need to correct you on a particular thing? I mean, even if it was just that you said, the fact is that there are 2 hours in February. Go first.
Oh, I was going to say, for some reason, ChatGPT, I like to use it for like making recipes, and I'll just be like, oh, I've got this in the fridge, what would I make for dinner? And it keeps thinking that I don't like onions and cumin. So every time it's making a recipe, it's like, we've eliminated onions and cumin because we know you don't like them. And I've told it about 50 times, I do like them. But it keeps forgetting, and it just thinks that I don't like them. I don't know why.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, when you're training an agent, you give it a markdown file that tells it how you want it to reply, and I tell it like, I'll have to go to the AI. I tell it I'm Irish. Stop using Americanisms to me.
Yes.
Like I was like, and I often when I'm doing it for my business, I'll tell it here's like I'm actually looking for like more value based. Sort of work more value based, not like optimizing profit. Stop giving me these recommendations. So you can give it this stuff, and what annoys me though is that you give it this context and then it says, oh yeah, you're right, there are 2 hours in strawberry. You're like, or 3 hours in strawberry.
Like,
But what are you going to do next? Do you know?
One thing that's very useful is if you create what's called a master prompt.
Yeah.
So you can just say to it like, I work in, I don't know, I'm a farmer, I live in Sligo, ask me the question, you need to create a master prompt. They'll ask you all these questions about like what type of farm, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then it will save that, and then you can
Save
basically
prompts.
use that every time. So
Yeah.
you have-
So
you
save,
have multiple
save your
master
prompts, the
that-
good prompts, yeah.
Yeah, you can have multiple master prompts that are,
Exactly.
yeah, well, I'm a cook, I'm vegetarian,
Yeah.
or yeah. So what I find it useful for is that it doesn't just give you the slot generic stuff.
Yeah. You have to
It
give
can
it
give
up.
you the deeper research if you're looking, you know, if you're in a particular area.
Exactly. And that was a better articulation of what I was trying to say. Like, it's that, like, you know, it's that markdown file you give it where you say, yeah, you know, it's almost like a persona. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
here's your persona for me.
Wow.
We are going to hit our time limit, and we do have I just do have a tiny bit of wrap up material first. Because I know this discussion is great, but I'm still around for a coffee if we want to continue this discussion. But I do want to be fair to people whose cars are parked outside. I will briefly try and wrap some of this. So look, this was such a whistle stop, right? Like, it was 3 hours, there was barely any time at all. I think the main kind of messages I'd like to kind of leave you with is obviously what we were that discussion on AI and what we can and can't do. The distinction between handing an AI a data set and handing the AI a sample of a data set and saying, create something that will analyze this or do something in this for me is an important one. I would say as well that, like, for anything when we've been using AI for, having an understanding of the data that's underneath it. If we're showing AI data, understanding its strengths and limitations. We worked with very high level emissions data today instead of playing around with this, but there's probably low level data that your organization has, whether it's marketing data, potentially electricity use data, which is easy to get. I got it from the ESB from my own house. So if there's ways to, like, that this stuff can see really big in the sky, but there's maybe practical ways you can actually start looking for new data sets. We did use Tableau. I know, like, you know, particular graph or Tableau or anything, it just was the easiest. I know it took us 5 minutes, but it's the easiest to get working for a collective. But I think if you have a data set and don't have the ability to quickly pivot and manipulate it in Excel like our accountants can, and often bringing it into a visual, no, I'm not joking, but bringing it into a visual interface and creating simple visuals is often a good way for you to understand the data set and potentially find potential holes in the data set. So that's pretty much where I'm at. We do have, I know, trying kind of extract one last thing out of you, if that's possible, which is the feedback. So, like, we have the mentee at the start, we have this feedback one. Now, probably should have set this to be anonymous. If you're going to say leading things about me, don't sign. That's fine. So we've got these. Excuse me, sorry, in the way. We shouldn't fill out this. While I'm doing that, I'm going to briefly flash up my LinkedIn. Sorry. If people want to connect with me, this is my LinkedIn.
Please wait for the presenter to change.
Oh, sorry, I have to change slide. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, Simon. I'm used to this. I'm used to that. I'm currently engaging a little bit of fragrant self promotion on LinkedIn, and I'll change slide now in a moment.
First, follow your connect.
Connect. The follow is because I have so many students that are always connected with me. I try to put the default to follow because if I don't reply to my emails, they'll start messaging me on LinkedIn. So I try to do it as connect with that. So that's this. I think was there only one page in that second mural? Do you remember in that second mural? Let's see, next slide. Oh yeah, sorry, there's one more which is an open text one around the insight you received, James, today. Maybe there's a couple more, sorry, I can't remember.
It's 5 actually.
It's 5. Oh jeez.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. When that's my fault today. When I saw 5 bars. I thought it was they were the 5 questions. Sorry about that. Don't worry, I'm not watching, so it's fine. People in a second. Thank you very much for the time. I'm not reading them. I'll be able to take it. Okay, we'll go to the next one. I go to the next one, does that kick everyone off that one? We have 10 responses, that's enough. Okay, and then you can vote on this one. Oh yeah, so it doesn't kick you out. Okay, I think there's one or two more. We're nearly there. Thank you for all this.
He's waiting for, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
Everyone's not as eager as you. I know. Okay, next one.
I think it skipped on for me.
Oh, sorry. You.
I didn't do the maths.
Oh shit! Sorry, I did. So the previous time it didn't skip for me. Shit. I can go back.
Right.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies. I was too eager.
Sorry for that.
No, it's fine. I was coerced into doing it by my participants.
I'm going to use AI to answer the next question.
Yes, now we're talking. Now we're talking. I'm sorry, as an AI model, I cannot answer that. Okay, and then we've got everybody.
I think it's the last one.
That's the last one? Okay.
Yeah, no, the next
The next
one.
one's the last one. Okay, nearly there. Thank you for your patience with this. Lovely, hi.
Yeah.
I knew once when I was creating those artifacts before, I was like, I can't start the session with this because there's no way they'll touch Pablo or Axel. Yeah, I have to make sure you ate your vegetables first before we put into it.
This is so Rudi, the modules of defining KPIs and data governance stood out. We collected a lot of data but lacked a clear framework for what metrics actually drive discussions. The workshop's approach to aligning KPIs with business goals would help us standardize reporting.
Perfect. Don't think don't think I did any of that.
I agree. This is funny.
It's great. Okay, I'm going to go to the last one in the interest of time. Oh, here we go. Oh, apologies. It's that one word. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's stay in touch on LinkedIn. If you're ever up in Nace or in Dublin, let me know. And yeah, hope you found this interesting. It was very much experimental and lots of learnings, I assume, from when we run this again. But I think hopefully you found it fun for you guys. Thank you for being so engaged and having such great discussion. And hopefully, see you all again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rudi. Thank you.
Oh, I think that's where I was meant to give you the floor.
No, not at all. No, I actually said what I wanted. So
Okay, bring it on.
you have again just